Lions. I have 7 o'clock on the wall clock, so that's good enough for me to start the meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order and ask that everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Eva, Elena, if you would lead us, please, I would appreciate it. To the flag of the United States of America, it's to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all. Beth, please call the roll.
Kell,
Yes.
Simifaro. Hubbard.
Here.
Popoff.
Here.
Aldag.
Here.
Schlaf.
Absent with notice.
Keel.
Here.
Martinez. Petrinko.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Item C on the agenda is approval of the meeting minutes from our September 8th, 2025 meeting. I can move them. Moved by Ray, thank
I'll
you.
second.
Second by Watt, thank you. Ray, any comments on the minutes? Wow, anything you noticed? Nope. Any other council members, comments on the minutes? Seeing none, please call the vote to approve the meeting minutes.
Kell.
Yeah.
Simifaro.
Yes.
Popoff.
Yes.
Hubbard.
Yes.
Aldag.
Yes.
Keel.
Yes. Motion carries, the minutes are approved. We have no prearranged participation. So we're down to item E on the agenda, which is not arranged participation. And we already have a hand up, must be a veteran, not an arranged participant. Welcome, Chet. Please state your name and address for the record, if you would, please.
755 Street. I'm here once again to talk about the gazebo ramp. And I'm gonna read a little bit because I actually, before it kind of adds up. You've seen the versions of the ramp already that I handed out one of the meetings. My biggest objection, and I object vehemently about it, is the ramp that's being considered right now. Stands out in the park, interrupts traffic around the park. Not very convenient for people in chairs, or with any other. And so I came up with a two plan that you've seen. I have to make sure, I must emphasize that the ones that you've seen were slightly incorrect because the ramps that you've seen should have been shown on the other side, on the Central Street side, but they're the same ramp. So, mentioned the ramp itself that you're looking at or considering interrupts foot traffic around it. It's not as convenient for people in chairs or any other mobility issues. And it, in my view, would be somewhat ugly. I saw a little bit of it. I know that you folks looked at options that were presented by OHM. And therefore you didn't have much choice relative to other options. And that's why when I saw those, I thought, well, geez, there's gotta be a better way. And that's why I came up with the ones that I did. Plus I determined that the OHM options that were presented were incorrect in the sense of the ramps, the gradient of the ramps and the length of the ramp. So the two versions that I presented, and by the way, there are probably other alternatives to doing the same sort of thing, but the two that I came up with show a switchback version on one side of the gazebo, or up to only one side of the gazebo, and a singular one that interrupts two sides of the gazebo, but no more than that. The one with the switchback on it, visually you'll see a lot of handrails because they'll all be compacted right into the arrangement. The other one would be just an extension of the handrails. And if you've been out there and looked at it, the handrails that are out there right now, the steps are the height of the, just like the handrails on the handicap ramp is. Neither one of those, of course, would interrupt traffic around the gazebo. And there would be from displacement, but that's what it is, displacement of some of the bricks that are there, simply moved. In other words, no new pavement. There'll be some that have to be relocated, therefore, make the whole thing work. Um. So. What else do I have? So there you go. That's why I'm here. And as I say, I really think you're making a mistake. You go with the ramp that's out there right now that you're getting bids on. So, thank you for hearing me out. And by the way, thank you, all of you, those of you who met with me. We talked about it up there. I really appreciate it. It tells me that there's a lot of interest here. In other words, if no one had, would not have been good. I appreciate that. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming tonight. Is there anyone that would like to speak under non-arranged? Welcome. Hey, Terry.
Terry Walters, 6847 Wellington Drive, Dexter. I'm going to speak about not specifically the ramp. My concern is for the people of Dexter who, and maybe it's been addressed, but I apologize if it has, but I haven't seen it anywhere. I'm concerned about memorial bricks that people have purchased in memory of their loved ones placed in the park. Because no matter where you put a ramp, you're either going to cover them, and I hope you're not just going to dig them up and throw them away. Those people deserve memorial bricks. If you have to move them, I would appreciate that you move them. I'm speaking for the families. Those that were loved ones, we wanted them to be placed out there in memory of their loved ones. So it would really be a disgrace for this community if you just cover those bricks up. I mean, I would suggest find another place in there, but concerned, but I haven't seen it addressed. But whatever you do with a ramp, I just hope that those memorial bricks will stay in place or can stay in the park, some of them. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you, Terry. Is there anyone else who would like to speak under non-arranged? Welcome. Lines.
Libby Beal, 6936 Wellington Drive. I'm here to talk about the annexation of the 45 acres on Baker Lane. I'd like to recommend to the council that they not move forward with the consideration of annexation tonight. For two reasons. One is the water well. We all know we need the water well. They've proven that they can produce water, but it has not proven a municipal well. Municipal well. Discussion with some staff members of the city as well as some other folks. I think we need further clarification on the municipal well. Straight pipe, municipal well can go in there. The second issue is the traffic. How many people have been on Dan Hoey in Lexington during school time? It's very, very hard to turn there. We need a traffic study. We need to know if you put in 75 homes, you're going to have 150 cars. Where are they going to go? There's no Baker Road access. Get that? You're not going to do that. Well, that's it. And everybody's going down Carrington. There's not, a traffic study needs to be done about the lights that need to be put in there and maybe over on Ann Arbor next year. Because Wellington can't handle those traffic. 150 cars a day in the residential area. Wellington probably needs to step up. Close off Wellington's because you can't do Baker access, then that means just truck Carrington. So there needs to be a traffic study. I think a lot of you say, oh, that will happen with the development. No, let's get some of these things ironed out now before we consider it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Welcome. I should say welcome back. Yeah, where you been? Thanks for coming.
Susan Filipiak, 2181 North Steinbach. And I'm speaking about moving forward on the ramp. It has been now months. And when I first appeared at the Parks and Recs Commission, asking them, that was a concern they had about the water. And they said that they've been moved before. Because it's settled. And they said that wouldn't be a problem. And There was never an intention from Parks and Rec to move any of the bricks. And I just hope this moves forward, and I believe that Mr. Hill's suggestions is very, very appropriate, and to entertain the OHM ideas, but also to listen to the public. And to move along on this. My memory is, oh gosh, I've dropped his first name, but his daughter. And with his daughter in a wheelchair to visit during the Christmas Santa visits, where he has been barred from doing that before. This moves along. Make that family happy by Christmas.
We're
Thank you very
trying.
much.
Thanks for coming this evening. Yes, please, welcome.
Hi, this is Pam Brereton, 6838 Wellington. I came to voice my disagreement with annexing the Sloan Kingsley parcel. I think it would have numerous adverse effects on those of us in the community, very much echoing what Libby said. The traffic is a large part of it, just that much more access on a couple of limited streets. I feel if you go ahead and look at annexing it, that feels to me like the big obstacle toward developing. And if we annex, then it just feels like it's gonna go ahead and happen. And I and many of my other neighbors are very much against that. I have yet to see how developing that would give enough benefit to Dexter as a whole. And I understand that Dexter may need some more development and may benefit by having it, but at what cost? To change our neighborhood for the worse and to change that habitat out there. And green habitats like that are becoming scarcer and scarcer. And once you lose them, well, have you ever seen one brought back realistically? I would say no. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for coming, Pam. Yes, sir. Welcome.
Hello.
Name and address, please.
My name is Dave Steptoe. I live at 9563 Huron Creek. Vector Township, formerly of 7250 Dan Boyd Road. That's we used to farm all that stuff before it was. Most of you guys don't know my name, but we've had 5 generations through that. I'm here to oppose the ramp at the gazebo. I've been in Lions Club, I've been a Lions member for over 17 years now. The gazebo's been there for 37, 38 years now. And addressing one problem over a 30-acre period seems like it's overkill. You know, and I think you guys are opening a can of worms. Oh, parking back of the fire hall, or you gonna put a ramp there? Fine. I mean, if you have a ramp that's gonna be used very little in the middle of the park, there's no handicap access to that park down there. There's no access to the green areas off of B&B. There's no ramps there. It's, you know, there's a lot of, that's a lot of things about. And, you know, that park is very accessible now. The city logo is that gazebo. And I think there's other things, you know, I mean, I suggested more than one time to Justin a temporary ramp. And when people want to use that, it can be put down, put in safely and used and then taken back away. You know, the thing about a gazebo is it doesn't have a back, a front, or a sides. You see it being used facing east for concerts, facing west for Memorial Day. I've seen weddings in there facing towards Albury's. There's no back or front to it. And it does ruin the aesthetics of the park. And, you know, from the plans that I saw that were drawn up, it would put more people out of the way walking on those sidewalks than what the use of the handicap ramp would be to the gazebo. It just isn't something that needs to be done that bad. And that should be thought of before, you know, you finalize this and spend a whole lot of money, then have to update a lot more stuff. I don't have a say, I don't live in the city anymore, but I think I've lived here longer than that's probably two people in this whole road. That's all I have to say.
Thanks for coming, Dave. Just one fact check for you. We do have a ramp designed from Main Street down the side of the fire station. It's,
Okay.
it's not poured in cement yet, but it's part of the fire station project. So. Yep. Okay, so. Anyone else? Okay, yep, second row and then back row. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Derek Brereton, 6838 Wellington in Dexter. And I would like to reiterate a very important point that I've made before, and that is the principle regarding the Sloan Kingsley property. The principle having to do with the fact that any act of so-called development is also an act of destruction. And it should be borne closely in mind, because once open spaces, vistas, wildlife habitat are gone, they are gone for good. This entire continent used to be open spaces. And you see how we have to fight for them now. Just to be able to see out our windows, something other than buildings. And there is simply no replacement for the animals or us when those types of open spaces are gone. We have to protect them. It's up to us. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Derek. Welcome.
Council David Lutton, Baker Road Land Holdings, 530 North Stevens Road. I'd like to briefly update you on all the aspects of this land. Many Hands has purchased 90 acres of land along Baker Road on the west, the east side of the road. That closing was in April. They are currently working through final PUD approval with Scioto Township. They've had fundraising success, and I believe they are now in position to build out phase one of their planned campus. Holding an event on the land this coming Saturday for supporters and the public. Regarding the 100 acres that is slated for permanent conservation, for the previous remarks, my application with Scioto's Land Conservation Commission is being reactivated. Additionally, I delivered an environmental engineer report for Scioto concerning the 21 acres west of the Baker Road. I'm over to talk now.
Good evening, Council. I'm Bill with Midwestern Consulting. We're working on behalf of Baker Road LLC, defending communications with Consumers Power regarding the pipeline. Our questions and work with consumers regards one, crossing of the pipeline, the proposed development codes that will be there, the temporary construction access adjacent to the pipeline to the property. Our first response from consumers, we're currently only dealing with the intake agent at this time. They're gathering the information they're required and then processing it through their system. We haven't dealt with their engineering team just yet. Their first response was to get one crossing of the pipeline and no parallel or linear crossings are permitted. Through continued conversation with the intake agent, they've indicated 2 crossings. The pipeline will be acceptable. They're going to be at the site later this week to locate the pipeline, determine the depth of the pipeline so that we can take that information into our base maps and so on for the project. Although I don't have much optimism, as we continue to work with that initial note on parallel access to the pipeline. We do need to share the information that they received from part of their engineering team regarding the depth and elevation of the pipeline. With additional information on how we plan to access it, dealing with their engineering group as opposed to intake group for our request. So we are continuing with that. We're continuing to move those questions forward and advance that. Piggyback on that and say that a couple of weeks ago, I spoke with the plant manager at Dextech. They are cooperative and willing to help us. They would be the point of access to a temporary construction road. Obviously, we don't have any terms yet with them, but they're quite cooperative so far. Lastly, let me talk about the proposed annexation parcel. News is twofold. We received a positive letter from Eagle regarding the well we drilled last fall and tested in January. The letter is in your council packet. Also, Justin Breyer has produced a draft council resolution regarding the annexation is also in your packet. Most grateful for the city manager's efforts and very much hope to move annexation and several other things forward on parallel tracks. I'll close by saying that on the first page of City Manager Breyer's memorandum, page 197, he reports that the city staff and your consultant, Mr. Whalen, had concerns about my well's plumbless and the isolation distance. I too have concerns on those subjects. I'll add another concern to the list, and that's around the word density and a possible additional developer financial contribution that was raised by the mayor in our second meeting with your committee on annexation and the well. Tom and I are staying until later when we're on the agenda and will be available to answer questions. I wanted to review a little bit in advance. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else who would like to speak tonight under not arranged? Okay, let me check the online audience. Is there anyone online that would like to speak under not arranged? If so, can you please use the raise hand feature? Let us know. Dash, if you can help me look out there for anyone. Excuse me. Okay, seeing none, that will conclude our non-arranged participation. Thank you for all those comments and for coming to our meeting. Item E on the agenda. Sorry, item F on the agenda is whether or not anyone needs to declare any conflict of interest. Is there anything to declare? Seeing none, excellent. We are down to item G, which is approval of the agenda. Would someone like to move the agenda tonight?
I move we approve the agenda as written.
Moved by Hubbard, thank you. I'll second it. Second by Popoff, thank you. Any discussion on the agenda? Okay, please call the vote to approve the agenda.
Popoff,
Yes.
Semi-Pharaoh,
Yes.
Aldag,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Tell.
Yeah.
Keel.
Yes, excuse me. Okay, motion carries. We have an agenda. On to page 2 of the agenda. We have 2 public hearings this evening. The first public hearing, and I know this is what you're all here for, is the reading on the amendments to the General Code of Ordinances, Chapter 58, Article 1, in general, Article 2, Water Service, and Article 3, Cross Connections. I'm going to open the public hearing at 7:23. I'm going to let our city manager make a brief presentation of the proposed changes, because there's over 100 pages of text here in the packet. But I know this is something we've been working on for a long time, so I'm opening the public hearing at 7:23. Is there anyone in the audience that has any comments related to the amendment to the General Code of Ordinances related to water? Is there anyone online that has any comments related to the amendment, proposed amendments to general code of ordinances related to water service? Okay, Justin, if you give us a brief overview of what the staff's been working on for nearly years, right?
Mhm.
So,
I mean, this has been in the hopper in one form or another since 2016, 2017. It's been a long time. We submitted an initial draft to Eagle in 2018, which we never heard anything back. Staff continued to work on it, to propose red lines changes, and finally we're able to bring it back with comments back from Eagle. And high level, a lot of changes to definitions, a lot of changes to how we deal with projects and their connections to and disconnections from water main. Deal with how water meters must be set in place, and the accessibility to those water meters. We dealt with what happens if a property wishes to disconnect and the terms of disconnection. What requirements someone who disconnects then has to follow in order to reconnect. We dealt with additional items relating to cross connections. So having other things connected to water and the potential backflow from the water connection back into the main. What things may be may not be allowed as part of a connection to the water system. We dealt with the size of meters and what someone who is applying for a new connection is able to get as part of their tap fee. We spent quite a bit of time working on standardizing the billing and collection language and making sure that the language in the water ordinance matches with the sewer ordinance, not just in billing and collections, but kind of throughout the entirety of the ordinance. We spent a lot of time rearranging items to make it more readable and more user-friendly. And then we dealt with the requirements that going forward, all residential properties, all commercial properties must have a single connection for each unit. In the past, it has been allowed that multiple units can be connected through the same water main or the same lead and the same meter, which going forward we wanted to get away from. And the terms of those who aren't connected through 1 meter, 1 lead, what it looks like for additional ready to serve fees.
excellent summary.
I know
well done.
it's
well done. And it's a lot.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, but that's a good summary, and that's all in the packet on pages 8 and 9. Having heard that, is there anyone participating here tonight that has a comment following the summary? Anyone online? Okay, then I'll close the public hearing at 7:29. And it's council's option. We typically provide the option to make a motion to adopt the ordinance at this point in the meeting. If there's someone that wants to move the resolution or move the amendment.
I move to adopt the amendment.
Motion by Walden.
Second.
Read it.
Oh, sorry.
Your second.
Well, I seconded while you were saying that, but
Second by Hubbard.
I mean,
Okay, discussion by council? Questions for Justin? I know you put a lot of work in this, and Tim's put a lot of work in it. Yes, city manager put work into it. Great.
When did we get a response from Eagle?
They sent one earlier this month.
So 10-year cycle or every 3 administrations, I'm not sure.
Well, so the person that they had reviewing these retired and then unretired and then re-retired and then handed it off to somebody else. And that was kind of in a holding pattern, and the person who they hired to replace her was brand new, had only a little bit of time in before we kind of jumped on them and said, hey, we need something. So it's been a little bit of an ordeal.
I mean, we got to get their opinion if we move forward or anything, so.
Well, and the thing really is that the only thing that they really focused on was our industrial pollution prevention piece of our ordinance.
No, this
So
one includes a lot of music stuff we ran into for years and years and years.
We have a motion by Aldag, second by Hubbard to approve the amendments to Article 2 Water Service and Article 3 Cross Connections. Any further questions? Beth, please call the vote.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Semi-Pharaoh,
Yes.
Aldag,
Yes.
Popoff,
Yes.
Tell,
Yes.
Keel.
Yes, motion carries. Our second public hearing this evening is similar. It's for an amendment to our General Code of Ordinances, Chapter 58, Article 4, Sewer Service. So similar to the last public hearing, I'll open this public hearing at 7:31 and ask if there's any public comment on the proposed amendments to the General Code of Ordinances, Chapter 58, Article 4 for Sewer Service. Seeing no public comments, Justin, I'll ask you to do another brief overview from your memo on page 48, please.
Sure. So for as long as the water ordinance was, the sewer ordinance was longer and more complicated. So number one is we updated a lot of the permit limits for things that may end up in the waste stream based on our mall and Tyndall consent agreement with the state for what may be discharged into the Huron, and what our plant has the capability of processing. Those limits were updated. Spent a good number of pages updating and adding definitions, reorganizing items to, again, allow for clarity. Dealt again with projects and requirements for tapping into the sewer main and disconnecting from the sewer main, and what is and is not allowed. Updated the required connection distance to 200 feet from the main per state law. We again worked to update billing and collection language and make the two ordinances match. Dealt with industrial user capital recovery charges. So what happens if someone needs to discharge more into the waste stream than is permitted by ordinance, and the fee is required as part of that. Spent a good amount of time updating the fats, oils, and grease part of the ordinance, and gave much more teeth to the ordinance to enforce fats, oils, and grease, with the idea being that fats, oils, and grease can congeal and coagulate in the main and cause backups, and requiring fog interceptors and grease traps in order to try and stop those items before they make it into the waste stream. Again, spent some time working through billing and collection procedures, and a lot of on definitions of, well, what's a main, what is the wastewater treatment plant, what is the public treatment works, and how all of those things interact definitionally and within the rest of the sections.
Thank you. Similar to the last public hearing, having heard that summary, are there any comments? Does anybody want to make any comments around the proposed amendments to the General Code of Ordinances, Article 4 for sewer service? Seeing anyone here, anyone online? Okay, we'll close the public hearing at 7:34. 7:35 on the wall clock, sorry. And similar to the last one, this is item H2. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the amendments to Article 4 sewer service?
I make that motion.
By Albert. Second by Tel, thank you, Ray. Any discussions or questions for Justin?
So this will allow us to recover costs from overzealous users and accidental discharge users.
Yep, so we have had that capability, but this updates the limits and the types of materials that are discharged. Typically, industrial users are required to provide an industrial pollution prevention program statement that we then work with their team, so we know what they're planning to discharge, what types of materials they're planning to discharge, and update or allow for appropriate billing and treatment processes to make sure that we're able to handle what they're sending us.
My main concern is always when there's an unexpected discharge in food about chemistry down at the plant because we were unaware. And so we had to go verify. I want to be able to put the hooks in them or have them at least acknowledge that. And before, I don't know if we were limited in what we could do other than during the morning. I'm assuming this goes a little bit more. The definitions are.
There are fines associated with with discharging either something that would upset the wastewater treatment plant or something that is discharged in sufficient quantity to upset the wastewater treatment.
Okay, and that's cut and dry. It doesn't matter if it's an accident, putting the bill there.
I mean, as long as we have the ability to react and we'll go through the process of figuring out who or what business released the discharge. And
only because the responsibility falls on us, because we're the sewer authority. Ultimately, we're the one, either or DNR or whether they're gonna come after.
absolutely.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please call the vote to approve the amendment to Article 4 sewer service.
Aldag,
Yes.
Semi-Pharaoh,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Popoff,
Yes.
Tell,
Yes.
Keel.
Yes, motion carries. Two big things off your list. Good job.
Thank you.
Item I on the agenda is our upcoming meeting list. Our meeting calendar is in the packet. Does anybody have any updates to anything there? It's out through the middle of October. If you do, just let Justin know at any time something changes. I'll move on to item J1, which is our first report from our public services superintendent. Tim, how are you?
Good. How's everybody doing?
Good, very good.
Well, 2 week reports in front of you guys. Is there any questions? I have a few things after.
Right?
Do we have a large community-wise garbage day in October? Is it the 4th? Is that what that is?
It's the first Monday in October. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
so that's
our fall cleanup.
Right, okay. That's what I thought.
And that is identified in the newsletter.
I've glimpsed through that. I didn't spot, no, but I did read it. So.
It's on page 1.
Well, that's why. We go right to the comment.
That's your only question?
That was it.
Okay. Any others for Tim, based upon the report? Wow.
Just a quick one. Since we've talked about stop signs in the past and where they're placed on the streets, I see that you replace them in the alleys. First of all, was that all of them in the alleys or just specific ones? When you do replace those, do you put them back in the exact same spot?
Yeah, we will take them off of the.
Oh, you just do the top part. Okay, you don't move the.
No, unless the post needs it, but.
Right, and even if the post needed it, you just put it back in the same
Yeah.
spot.
I mean, yeah, within. few inches, yeah.
All right, thanks.
Looks like it's an easy month for you. What do you got for us beyond, your report, sir?
Oh, we're starting hard in Flushing this week.
Okay.
We're supposed to be this afternoon, it's kind of put off till tomorrow, that's, I did start with the first thing. Starting to wrap up street and concrete and sidewalk. Almost good, nothing major, but yeah, just wrapping that up. Prepping the leaf machine, getting that ready to go. In the trucks, and got some codes in the truck today, so we're gonna take that in before. Lease going, so we're gonna get that taken care of, and got a few more sidewalks, we're gonna actually have a contractor. Doing sidewalks. Well, yeah, doing some. Just too busy right now, it's for the guys to get. Figured let's just get it. Gotcha.
And the barricades in downtown stay up until the end of October, is that correct?
Beginning of October first, which barricade?
Outdoor seating.
Water wells.
Yeah. October 31st, right?
The link first or?
It's
Yeah, October, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, right. up.
Oh, the
Yeah,
the water thing.
Where did you have to push mow in Mill Creek, the detention basin?
Yeah. That around those areas, yeah. Sometimes they'll get the push mowers out if they can't. So it's.
Yeah, I mean, right
Big
after,
machine, it's-
right
yeah.
after I seen Mill Creek North, and oh, obviously it's on steep hill.
Keep up the good work. Tell the staff thanks. Next up is our Community Development Manager report. Michelle, how are you?
I'm fine. How's the rest of council?
Very good.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, you've got my 2-week report in front of you. Covering you with questions.
Go.
For the DDA updates that you have in the report. It has in there, staff anticipates being able to provide a verbal update to council at today's meeting. And then, you're gonna go through that?
I can, yes.
Okay. And then, the item under it's B3. Can you also do an update on the, what's referenced in the DDA package?
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if that's just like the presentation from the developers that was going to be cross-checked with the communities or what that information was.
So, let's start with B2.
Okay.
So the DDA went into closed session to talk about a property purchase. While there are details to give you,
Sure.
other than they directed staff to move forward based on what was discussed. It is in line with trying to find a solution to the dumpster situation in Alpine and the former use of the dumpster at 3219 Broad Street.
Thank you.
The 3045 Broad Street Subcommittee. So they actually met this morning for face-to-face to have that opportunity to talk one-on-one with each other about the 2 interviews that have been conducted. They have decided they want to, they have some additional clarifying questions that they feel are important to again meet with the 2 developers face-to-face. But based on everybody's schedule, as well as staff being out of the office mid-October, we're planning it for the last week in October. And I'm working with those 2 developers to schedule those meetings.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, I should have mentioned under the meeting calendar, it's unlikely that the October 16th DDA meeting will occur. There are a lot of people out of town that week. So we're potentially either gonna move it a week or we may skip one and put it in November. Just based upon everybody's schedule.
So far, just to piggyback off what John said, so far, the feedback from the DDA board is looking like there'll be a forum for if we reschedule that to October 25th.
Thank you.
I don't have a whole lot of updates for you, so. Oh, I know, there too, but I'll probably be taking some of that investment sales. We interviewed, what people now?
Really?
We have two very strong candidates, for the associate planner position. That should be really good about scheduling everything. We've got a great team for interviews. And you can schedule follow-up interviews for Thursday and Friday, so the second interviews. If they go well, we should be able to have a pick on Monday. So far, I'm keeping my head above water, but I'm really gonna be happy when we get our new person. Thank you.
Thank you.
Until then, we've shut down all development in Top City.
Yeah, I'm not willing to go that far.
Yeah, good.
It's gonna.
Good. Okay, we are down to our Washington County Sheriff report, and we have, I know the sheriff here. Please come on up. You're welcome to bring your friends if you'd like.
Thank you. Thank you all for inviting me this evening. It's good to see you all.
Likewise.
Anyone in the audience doesn't know me. I'm Alicia Dyer, the sheriff. Just started in January with our new administration. We have been extremely busy. Things are going really well. Some of our big things that we're focusing on is staffing. We recognize that that's been a problem for a number of years. Since the pandemic and after, it's just been harder to hire law enforcement. We made a number of really positive changes to our training and HR division. So we're actually seeing a lot more local people apply. We're sending people to the academy for sponsorships. We just had 5 graduate from Washtenaw Academy. And then we have 3 graduating from Schoolcraft. So we're getting to a better place. It's going to take time to get everyone trained up, but we're really excited about that. We are focusing in on mental health and wellness, especially with not only mental health calls out in the community, but PTSD first responders experience. So that's something that we hope to prioritize and just really assessing everything, right? You know, sure you all know that the sheriff's office is 24/7. It doesn't stop. We have 6 divisions and responsible for public safety in the entire county. So we are all working really hard. Today I have with me Lieutenant Kraftenberg, who's our West Ops lieutenant, and then Commander Lowe, and I believe you all know them already, and I think Lowe. Yes. so-
He's becoming a regular.
Yeah, yes. And yeah, thank you for having me, and I want to just answer any questions if you guys have any for me.
All right, Ray, I'm gonna give you the floor.
Oh,
first.
thank you.
Because I know you've got at least a one question.
I got just a bunch of these little red dots here. First I want to ask Justin, how's our contract with them? Do we go to guaranteed a certain amount of hours? Or we just pay by what they're here for?
So the contract is contracted for 3 PSUs. And then it's 8 between us, Webster Township and Dexter Township. So we're 3, Dexter Township is 3, Webster Township is 2. Prior to recently, there was a banked hour system where
Okay.
unfilled shifts would go into banked hours. That has been eliminated. And so now we're being billed based on the current number of filled PSUs and actual overtime.
So there wasn't ever a set contract amount, set amount of hours per week.
I don't believe the contract calls for required minimum staffing.
Um,
And
Go
just a little bit of context on the banked hours, we were getting a lot of complaints about the banked
that's
hours.
fine.
And, okay, all right.
It was shady bookkeeping. All right, it was shitty.
Wait, I heard you say shady.
Shady, that's what I said, shady.
Okay, okay.
My other big thing is, I know you guys don't do the amount of traffic stops that you used to based on minimal infraction, broken taillight, whatever. License plate taillight, all the ones I got pulled over from. But I did want to ask.
as my town has become more and more tourist friendly, we promote this pedestrian friendly atmosphere. In addition to the schools not providing school buses to anyone within a mile. So I have a lot of foot traffic. And there's a lot of people speed through town. Mainly it's passing through, it's coming from the North Lake Picnic area. Maybe all the way out to Unadilla, I don't know. But as anyone has drove from one place to another, you come to Splovak, you're notorious for looking for a shortcut through town. And there's several places that are shortcut, and I know you can't cover them all. All I want you to do is be visible on the street. It's amazing how much people slow down when they see a cop there.
That's true.
It is. And I know traffic's only bad here twice a day, once in the morning, once in the evening. But we're looking at expanding our social district later in our agenda. And that's gonna open up a whole bunch of cross traffic stuff, no people drinking with their glass and stuff. So it's already shaky. I've already seen one incident in town when there was a fire truck right there. You know, fire truck, it hits them anyway. Another guy hits another guy. And it's really bad at some of our crosswalks, and I'm not saying it's all the drivers. There's a lot of pedestrians that are. I don't know what they're thinking. But my biggest thing is when they whip down Fifth Street, or they come down Broader Central, and they're just speeding to get out of town, and I understand it. But you can't be doing 45 through my neighborhood. And there's a lot of kids that ride their bikes in the old part of town.
Right.
And you guys probably wasn't around when the riding hour kid got killed, but that was bad. And that was 30 years ago, and I do not need to see that. So if there's any way you can increase your presence to slow down and deter traffic, that is my number one priority of all things. I don't care about nothing else. You know, I don't care how many stops you make. I just need your presence. And maybe an hourly amount in the month you were here. Cause I got your out times and this and that, but I didn't see it in town. I don't think I did.
The into area time for Dexter City,
Yes,
I believe it's all combined, but we could probably break that.
I was just curious, you know.
Yeah.
I'm all about percentages, numbers, getting my fair share,
Yep, yep.
however unrealistic that is. And, you know, I think you're doing all right, Jeff. Little diversity, you never heard any, just don't forget about us on the west side.
Will do. And when I was a deputy, I did work out here on midnights for a bit. And from the residents, speeding is always definitely, we understand it's a pretty big concern, and we'll continue to remind the deputies to be visible, do speed enforcement. Anything that's safety hazards, it's just like you said, the crack in the taillight, the crack in the windshield, that stuff we're trying to get
If
away
you're doing
from.
35, I gotta flash you them. I don't care if you flash them and tell them to get out of town. Just want them to know they're flashing, they're paying attention. I want every jolly joker to come speeding through town. To know that they're not gonna put up with it.
Yep.
Well,
I want to piggyback off one thing that Ray said here. We live in the same old part of the village. He mentioned, the traffic is only bad here 2 times a day. I'll tell you,
you live like me.
I live on a very quiet block that got 2 of these blocks on either end of it, where he says people are speeding through, to cut through, and actually this guy who's not here, he lives on one of those. Anyway, my point is that I work from home. And so I see during the day is when people are like just taking the pedal to the metal on this one little block from stop sign to stop sign. So I mean, going off your visibility thing, I think there is some merit in maybe in the times when traffic's not so bad, having a presence there in the neighborhoods when they're not so focused on where the traffic is so heavy. Because it does go on all day. It goes on all day. Gotcha. Yeah, we can definitely do that. Also, I'm sure you all know this, but if you do have a specific area
or you're getting complaints from residents about a certain area, definitely have them call or contact the lieutenant, because we can also do directed patrol. We can do details because we have countywide traffic cars as well. So if there's a specific area that is just an ongoing problem where you're hearing a lot of complaints, we really want residents to let us know so then we can do the directed enforcement and traffic patrol, because that helps as well.
I wouldn't say most of our issues are on the Dexter and Arbor, or Dexter Pinckney. It's the cut-throughs.
Gotcha.
Everyone trying to get down the Mass, or get around the bridge, or get
And-
around the construction, get around the roundabout.
And that's where I live.
Every street from Main Street is straight down to Second and you're over. Where you take an angle, straight down to Broad.
Yeah, typically
Or
they don't
Central, where.
cut down my specific street, but it happens all around the blocks around my house. And when they do cut down my street, it's very fast.
Joe?
But I should say it can be.
That's why I was sponsored. Joe?
What you just mentioned about areas to target and stuff. I mean, we, from the city standpoint, we have a radar sign that was put up that flashes the speed and stuff. So I don't think there's any mystery about where we're seeing these issues. And just to add on, there, coming in Dexter Pinckney, there is a cut through Westridge neighborhood that gets taken a lot, especially when school starts, because and they basically come in one end of Westridge, all the way through, and then jump back into line when they get closer to town. So from looking at the reports, the initial reaction that we had looking at it was we're not doing as many traffic stops. Seems to equate to we're not doing as much road patrol or within the city. So for us, I know you have a certain number of things that you have to respond to, right? You get a call, you have to go and you have to address it, and then there's a certain amount of other time. Sometimes we've gotten feedback, and the feedback's been, I'm sorry, we can't prioritize what you want us to prioritize. We got our own things that we're prioritizing. From my perspective, I understand you got things that you gotta do on a regular basis. After that, what we want prioritized is what needs to be prioritized. Okay, we're purchasing the service. We've had discussions many times about doing our own police department. And it's something that we don't want to do. We realize that there's advantages with being with the county as far as capabilities, the backup that's there, just the professional force that's there, and not dealing with an individual small town unit. But we have to be able to say, this is a concern, we need focus on this. And literally, there's never been a time in over 20 years that I've been on and off council. There's never, ever, ever been a time when speeding has not been a problem. And we've gone through and we put in, actually right up near where Juan lives, we added a stop sign there. And I remember Lieutenant Filipiak, it was literally 20 years ago. We talked to him and he said that was great. That helped out a lot because people were flying through that intersection. And literally, the last time we talked about this, I believe it was Dan that said people are driving through that stop sign all the time. So, I mean, I understand it's ongoing. The only way, like Councilmember Tell said, the only way that we get any kind of reaction from people is visibility and stuff. So and I mean, on the plus side, it's great when your biggest concern is speeding and it's not some other type of criminal activity and stuff. So we're fortunate from that standpoint. But that's really a concern for us.
Yeah, and we'll continue to make sure that the deputies, because are visible, present. We've been also trying to ensure that they're doing more community directed patrol. So, if residents, like getting out of car, talking to people, going downtown, talking to your local shops, seeing what people are actually saying, and then directing their time to address any concerns that come up from that. And then they still should be doing traffic stops, and speed enforcement and things like that. So we will ensure that they are spending their time in the city as they're supposed to. And then did you?
Let me just, Commander Lowe has done a good job of explaining that if I'm saying this right, for a long time, we might put you on a project. We want you to address Fifth Street or be on Second or wherever it is. Um. And the reports don't necessarily reflect that. They don't give you credit for the time that you are listening to us when we ask for those special things. So we know that's coming. Most of our comments are aimed at trying to improve the reporting so that if somebody looks at it, it's not just numbers. Because we know that it's more than numbers.
Right.
My observation that I shared with Commander Lowe is that there's a lot of time spent talking about, into area time, for example, right? Which, if I understand it right, is when a contracting deputy from a different group, i.e. not our group, spends time within this area, right? So somebody from the SIO group comes into the Dexter. Well, you guys got it tracked down to the minute. You tell me 1,333 minutes in August, somebody was in here. And I, do the math, I divide by 60 and I think, okay, that's 20 hours. So 1 hour a day, 2 out of every 3 days, somebody's helping out from another jurisdiction or another contracting area, right? The out of area time, it's a little over 2,000. Okay, so if you divide it by 60, it's like 30 hours or 31 hours. So basically 1 hour a day, one of our deputies, yours, are going to assist somebody else outside of our, the Webster Township Dexter. But nowhere does it give credit for how many minutes, your big number if you did it in minutes or hours, you're actually in the area somewhere. Never, and it's, it's our report. We're
The
looking at
routine hours, yeah.
and it should relate somehow to the 5 out of 8 that you stayed on the bottom left corner, a small number. You gotta almost look for it, how many you're counting on a particular month. Those are the kind of improvements that I think would be valuable for somebody that picked up the report to know. That's kind of like the proof we were here. But
Yeah.
you talk about when you aren't here or when somebody else is here. And I don't know if secondary road patrol is this other pool of officers that just finds their way around the entire county. But like, we had 591 minutes. So again, divide by 60 and that's 10 hours. So what that tells me is 1 out of every 3 days, somebody got lost and drove out to Dexter for an hour and then drove out somewhere else to sit for secondary road patrol. It's not that much. And I don't know how, maybe there's only one officer assigned to the whole county to do that. But it's those are the numbers that I look at. I don't know what I don't know what I'm supposed to get from those. I'd rather understand what we got rather than outside look. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, no, it's good feedback. We took the information that's, routinely on reports, and we're trying to make the format more uniform. It's not a bad idea. We could easily add the hours that were actually spent here. I think the thought process behind it before was townships really wanted to know when the deputies weren't in their area and then when other areas came in. So that was something easy to add. And then Lowe actually has the community directed activities as well.
Yeah. So, the minute Sean and Justin have talked about this a little bit. And we really appreciate the feedback because we kind of changed the activity log, we changed some of the reporting. Because also too, not every area wants this or that. So some of it might have been a consensus. So we are doing some of that tailoring, so it is very helpful to get that. And one of the things we've done on the activity logs, we started in July. These will be included in the reports going forward, is what we call community driven activity, and that would be included on all of those are on the activity logs as a kind of a box that is checked for what we think are doing something. What that is exactly what the board here has been talking about. When we ask you, when you ask us, Main Street or Dexter painting, because it's a collaboration, so we have, those deputies are going to the other areas too. We do listen to that, and we actually document that on a board, an actual board in the office. And it will show what the community has requested, where the community has requested us to be, what for. So for the collaboration, since we did this, we have just under 15,000 minutes of what the community has asked us to do. on those activities, and it is mostly speeding, it is mostly traffic. So I completely understand what you're saying and hear that, and this is one of those things we're trying to do to showcase really what the deputies are doing, rather than just, so that will be included in the reports, and just so the board knows and everybody knows, that is what that community driven activity is. They're basically informal service requests. Where you're asking us to, watch the cut through, or watch next to the picture, or watch here and the drive. There's a lot of traffic complaints. The secondary road patrol, there's 2 deputies in for the entire time. So, as you can imagine, for every request here, and that is from, they handle our fatal crashes or serious injury crashes. They also, we kind of pull them in a bunch of different directions. In there. We also put some traffic enforcement details together when they're available. So we'll, kind of do a force multiplier. We have maybe those 2 who work with their schedule, work with 1 or 2 deputies that work in, with also the sergeant, possibly lieutenant if they're available. So we can do some traffic enforcement details. We are doing those, but every area, so we're kind of rotating with those deputies as well, in addition to everything else.
Gotcha. Maybe I just didn't know what they were,
Yeah,
what
no.
their focus was supposed to be. So thank you for clarifying that.
In secondary road patrol, it's really, is there, there's a grant fund in there as well for that service to have those.
Okay.
Most of the time we had 4. And now we have 2, because some of the funding's been cut, so we are down to 2. But that's the secondary road.
Gotcha. Pablo?
Quick technical question. With all the folks coming in to the department, how many are certified on radar currently out of your force?
So this is something we've really been focusing on, is they all should be within their training program with us, or they go on their own, they will be certified. That necessarily hasn't been the case,
Okay. Thank you.
but they are now.
And we have, over the past couple of years, there's been a number of new people, just retirements. And so we've made sure all the new people are trained at the radar.
Thank you.
Sounds great. We were told we might be getting a new deputy soon, so that's exciting.
Yeah, we've been very fortunate this time. At 25th year, I've been in the sheriff's office maybe 2 years. And we've never hired this many people since I've been out.
It's great. Great.
And then we have fall academy that starts in October. So we're hoping to send several there. Start over again next year.
We better get them on board quick. We might get used to paying less.
That's it, don't get used to it.
Does anybody have any other questions? Yep.
Hi, and thank you for coming. You mentioned budget, and it made me think of the budget discussions in the state and such that are happening at the state level, and the impact that would be potentially on the sheriff's office, and also October 1st comes when we are where we are. Is there anything that you can share with us on perhaps, or any impact?
Yeah, so we have been deeply assessing our budget. Where we would see the most impact is some of our grants. And it would just be grants not being available anymore for some of the more innovative things we do. So we have a number of beer and justice grants that focus on community corrections, reentry, some of the work that is done in the jail around social work philosophies. So those are where we're seeing probably the biggest threat to our budget. And it would just be that we would have to find another way to cover some of those services if the federal grants are no longer available. My hunch, and just kind of looking at the climate, is that some of the federal grants we're used to applying for that we usually get just won't be renewed. And so we're monitoring it. We're working closely with the county. The county's also been looking at their budget because they get impacted by the state budget. But as of now, so far, we're not seeing any big impacts that would impact operations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good question.
Yeah.
Ray, back to you, sir.
Okay, just a couple more. I'm just looking at your report here, it's, page one. So I was just looking at your traffic stops here based for month 2025, no, 2025 year to date versus 2024 year to date. You can see my concern, we're at 300 year to date this year and almost 1,100 year to date last year. So that's an 800 car drop or something. I don't know if that's because we're just concentrating on speed now, or we're not going after the other stuff. And can you tell me what miscellaneous traffic complaints are? Is that something initiated by the deputies who?
Those could be the traffic stops. It could be people calling, miscellaneous complaints. I will say, if you look at the numbers, there were a number of stops that were those low level minor
Right.
infractions, which I argue weren't actually doing anything to make it impact.
They're
with
mainly
safety anyway.
They're mainly teenagers or high school guys. with their
Yeah.
Second crappy car.
Or someone that, had an old truck and just
Right.
couldn't fix a crack. I mean. But they really do need to be doing the speed enforcement, so we're going to stay on them about
Okay.
that. But yeah, I definitely I'm seeing your point as well.
Can you explain this term miscellaneous A through UU?
That is the miscellaneous code for our Clemis system, is my guess.
And Ray, by the sheriff.
It would be
look at that
on
just
there.
So the miscellaneous traffic could also be. There's a lot in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, that-
Not
yeah.
necessarily crash, but there's a car that was hit by a car, maybe the car left. Or was hit by a semi, there was no damage or something like that. So we have a road hazard.
Right.
That could be listed as a miscellaneous traffic. That. My guess in Dexter, in this area, that probably. Most, a lot.
Yeah, I bet. Oh, one more.
Wait, can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah,
Does that include the trucks that get stuck under the viaduct?
So.
Sorry.
That ain't in town.
Never mind, forget I asked.
That's inside, that's a side.
hazard.
That would be a.
That'd be a
call for service, traffic crash,
Okay.
and actually the ones that I had worked on last year, the railroad. Directly involved in that.
Oh, yeah.
And go right out, that's, they've been. Still yours, right?
All right, I noticed under investigative activities, last year was only 14 and this year is 54 year to date. Some kind of major crime thing going on here, and we keep investigating more? Or was there some incident I'm unaware of? Or are there just more people?
It really, with the investigative activities, it's hard to say because every case is so different.
Right,
And
I'm
so,
trying to get a baseline on what I'm looking for here.
yeah, it could be the case that for this month, there was, or for the year to date, just more cases that required more detective work.
And also
I know.
there could be follow-up that's done, because they'll use that same number. Case number, incident, number, if they have to follow up, and a lot of these cases. Are starting to require a lot of follow-up, whether it's certain ones or the technology. It's a cell phone, it's working with banks.
So last year to date, we didn't do that much, or there must be some, or else they didn't assign that. Task to that investigator.
One of the things that she. Is out. Follow-up, stuff like that. We put them on. Detail. They would trigger the status check on that. And they can get lost. Stack. So one of the changes that they.
So maybe that 54 is more realistic of a number as opposed to 14. One more question. I'm looking at traffic stops here. You had a total of 42 for August. I see 15 of them from speeding and then 25 over traffic violations. Other than speeding, what's a traffic violation, an actual moving violation?
So we've had a lot of discussion on this as well, and that's kind of one of the things we're looking at.
Does it mean no signal or shitty bulb?
It's a hodgepodge, and we'd like to kind of narrow that down. We've had a lot of discussion on that.
Yeah, because I want to see
Yeah, it could
I want to
be-
see a speeding thing. I don't know. Maybe that's too ridiculous.
No, when the deputies, so the data that's put in by the deputies.
Correct.
For the sergeant, sometimes it's water mistakes. But the categories that they pick, they only have a few selections.
Right.
So we've been looking at changing that to be more kind of true to, you know, what I was talking about before, true representation of what they're doing. But also could show we're still doing the kind of frivolous traffic stop, so that might not be the case.
All right, but
That's just
so
a
this report is much better than the previous reports I've received. Actually, it's more accurate, you're saying, because you're identifying things that we felt were non-real.
Yeah.
Into actual factual representation. I find it troubling that your deputies aren't on the same page by entering data, so that, but maybe that's the way it was set up. You know, it's hard to differentiate based on, you give it a list, and then it may not be on.
Right, and then they hit other, and then we're traffic
other,
violation, and then
other.
it becomes a big, yeah.
And I realize that's hard to quantify because, just because of people.
But I appreciate it, Rick, because I'm report, and we'll continue to make it better and work on it. And that's, you know, by kind of years. And that discussion, if there are questions.
Yeah, everything I talked about is secondary to speeding. Until somebody gets nailed, then it's gonna be crap. Then it's gonna be crap. That's it. I don't need it. I don't wanna see it. I'm addressing it now. Thank you very much.
Any other questions for the sheriff? Sheriff, Commander, Lieutenant, appreciate your time. and
Thank you.
Thanks for waiting.
you all.
You're right.
Yes.
You're welcome anytime. Thanks a lot for everything you do. Okay, I'm gonna move down to city manager report, I think, unless anybody has a verbal update on anything else under J3 or J4 that they noticed. Listen, the floor is yours.
Sure. So as Michelle mentioned, we had a few associate planner interviews last week. And we are moving into the second interview process with two of them. We had a couple of recreation coordinator interviews today. Our last one is on Wednesday, and then we hopefully should be able to move forward with that as well. Utility operator, we have one vacancy, and applications for that. The first review date is the end of this week. So I'm planning to be out of the office next week. And so the plan is to set up interviews for the utility operator the following week. There's a copy of the fall newsletter in your packet. I believe they have already hit mailboxes, but just.
Yeah, I got mine today. Or, no, I forgot to make mail.
Yeah. But if you know of anybody who didn't receive one, you can direct them to the packet or let me know and we can make sure they get one. The railroad has substantially completed the road crossing piece at Broad. It does ride smooth, which is nice. I think they're still waiting on a piece or two for the new pedestrian crossing. I know they had installed the bubble ramps, but
They're gonna do that to Central too?
As of right now. Their current work was only focused on Broad Street. Since we won't have another meeting prior to it, I do want to call out that we are planning a tree planting day in Mill Creek Park South for October 11th with Relief. We got a grant from DTE to do 20 tree plantings along the creek. So if anybody has time the morning of October 11th, please come out and join us. I know they're looking for something like 40 volunteers, and I think they're at like 10. So trying to get as many folks as we can.
How you digging a hole?
So the DPW is actually gonna go out with a hole digger prior to dig the holes and have them ready for us that morning. I think they're gonna do like a bobcat attachment or something like that.
Alright.
Other than that, does anybody have any questions for me?
My first one is, what's the arbitrage discussion with Baker Tilly?
Yeah, so we are trying to get to a recommendation for council for dealing with arbitrage. So our arbitrage is the concept that we have invested our bond funds from the Public Safety Facilities Project, and we're making more on those bond funds than the IRS wants us to. And so
because we're fiscally responsible, we have to pay penalty. Is that what I'm hearing?
Because the bonds are tax exempt, they don't want tax exempt bonds making more than tax exempt bonds should otherwise be making. So we talked to Baker Tilly. We're getting a proposal from them to actually run the arbitrage numbers and tell us with a firm number how much we are going to owe on those dollars.
I don't even know why we set it aside in interest earnings.
Marie had done kind of a tentative calculation, but she is not confident in that spreadsheet. We don't have anybody on staff who is anything close to an expert on arbitrage. And so few people deal with it. It's not a very straightforward thing. And so we need an expert, and that's what we're talking to Baker Tilly on.
How different are we?
Well, so I mean, our arbitrage is not something that many communities have had to deal with in the last 20, 30 years. Because of the current market and the rates that investments are receiving, it's something that now communities are having. So
obviously there's a discussion and they have a senator or something. Let's talk about these TCO updates. It says staff has marked over 1,000 road signs in the city. That every stop sign, every street sign, every
parking sign.
Does that be, what is it, the new reflective stuff with a thing on the back?
So TCO stands for traffic control order. And so each sign that we would like enforced by the sheriff's office needs to have a corresponding warrant for that sign to be enforced. The warrant comes in the form of a traffic control order. And essentially it is the traffic engineer and the sheriff signing off saying this sign that is being installed meets warrants and is enforceable. And so the last time that we did a comprehensive review or comprehensive readoption of our traffic control orders was like 2006 or 2008. It's been a while. Since that time, signs have been removed. New signs have been installed. And Tom, our assessing field worker, had some availability, and so I asked him to go out and first work with OHM to set up a system, but then actually go out and take a GIS survey, identify every single traffic sign in the road right of way, and the next step is correlating those signs with existing traffic control orders to try and match them And then figure out, are there signs that don't have TCOs that were installed? Are there signs that no longer exist that have TCOs? And try and essentially readopt the TCOs so that we're fresh. We know where, number one, where all of our signs are.
Right,
Those signs actually exist,
right.
and all those signs have TCOs.
Okay, so you have to warn each and every, we don't have to go out there.
Each and every sign that we would, that
You know,
it
traffic warning.
is of a type that is enforceable. So,
Oh,
so speed signs, stop signs, parking signs. Generally, if it's a warning sign, that doesn't require a TCO. But all, everything that has a certain code type, requires a traffic controller, and we want to make sure that we're firm on
I
those.
just remember the word warrant.
Mhm.
It seemed like you had to meet certain specifications
Mhm.
to give the warrant. I'm wondering if some of the things in fact do not warrant, if someone's big at support.
And that's what I would like to make sure that we are on solid ground on with our TCO list.
Okay.
The, so in that portion of the report, you said ranging from street name signs to speed signs. So
So
where does the Dexter Pinckney Eastridge sign fall? Is that county or is that city?
so if it's in the Dexter Pinckney road right of way, that's county.
So are we gonna go through those or?
So Tom may have picked them up in the GIS, but we would not have a TCO for it.
What about signs that are put up by private entities at entrances and exits to like commercial? lots?
Those again may have been picked up as part of the GISing of everything, but they wouldn't require us to have an enforceable TCO for that.
They're in the right of way, but they're put in by a private company, they would or they would not?
They would not require it, unless it is something that
I'm saying like.
the sheriff
entrance
is.
To our exit from Bushes, right?
Mhm,
There's one there that says no left turn,
mhm.
right? Do we have a TCO for that?
I will bring up our resident engineers.
It was on the site plan.
Well, I understand, but the fact of the matter is, it's put up by a commercial company. It's not put up by the city.
You know, it was a requirement of our planning process. is what I'm saying.
For sure. But there's a lot of signs that are like that, right? And I'm asking,
I
do we
agree.
do
That was a good
TCOs for
example.
all those? No.
I figured we'd want to talk to Patrick tonight, so.
So I think one of the requirements of a TCO is engineering judgment. Sometimes it's like if it has public roads, that'll typically be part of that review process. Private development a little more, but typically I don't believe there actually are TCOs for.
I don't think they're enforceable.
I don't think so within private property. I think it applies mostly to public right of way. Not sure.
Something to
But,
think about.
yeah, that review is part of this process, though.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a review.
Other questions for Justin? Pablo?
Justin, I want to talk about the memo from OHM. Just about the gazebo, just to bring up the gazebo again and missing the meeting we had 2 weeks ago and kind of reading over this response and just slowly getting ramped up with how much I dislike it. And the fact that this memo literally just reiterates the obvious facts. And as Joe kind of pointed out very cleverly last time, making opinions as facts, such as obscured sightlines from the gazebo platform from the park. I mean, that's a person's opinion, right? For the love of God, how long have we been discussing about revisiting and relooking at this alternative option so we can once again look at it, say yay or nay, and actually move on? Like, this memo took effort on their behalf to compose, but it's about nothing and it's done nothing. What do we need to do to have OHM provide us with a repeated look at this design of a wraparound gazebo so we can look at it again and just nail it to the wall and move on?
So
Thank you.
I'll call OHM back up and in talking with Marcus, which Patrick is stepping in for Marcus. What was provided by Chet was a concept design. If we really want to evaluate those options, it will require OHM to essentially take his concepts and engineer them. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
And so we can direct OHM to do that if city council would like to go through that effort.
Wasn't that, my understanding, that was the agreement 2 weeks ago, right? That we will revisit this design and.
So
Absolutely.
I did ask OHM to look at the concept design and provide feedback on it. If we want to fully engineer those options for the sake of evaluating them, it's gonna take more time.
So, Pavel, I think they did. I don't know what the word is, subjectively describe what they would need to do or what the benefit would be. Excuse me. You know, some of this comes down to perspective. Okay, we had a gentleman come tonight to say, we don't even need a ramp. Okay, now we hadn't heard that too often since this came up. Okay, that's a counter, but that was his perspective, right, tonight, that we don't even need that. While I think adding a ramp is a good idea, you know, this comes down to the fact that we asked them to look at. They looked at wrapping one around. Remember at the very first set of options that they gave us. And according to their early math and dimensions, it was going to take at least two sides. My recollection is it kind of sneaked in on the third side, if I remember right. Stacy's nodding, so that's a good thing. You know, and we talked about it at the council and said that isn't what we want. We don't want to obscure 3 out of the 6 sides of the gazebo. So we've advanced sort of an idea with the ramp coming off and out to Central. I think Chet agrees it should go out to Central. In fact, I met with him and he told me he agrees it should go out to Central. You know, we are not taking action tonight. He was good enough to get this in the packet today. Gives everybody a chance to see it. I haven't heard any council member advocate for a position other than the direction we're taking, which to get a quote back. Now, it might have been nice to have a preliminary idea of what the cost was. We're gonna get a firm quote. We skipped the preliminary cost from you guys. Maybe they didn't want to price it or know how to price it. All good. In 3 weeks, this board is gonna have a bid document back, or a bid. Hopefully we get a bid. Okay, you know, it'd be horrible to go out and not get any bids, then we'd have to figure out what to do next. But you know, we are, in order to get an apples to apples fair quote, somebody would have to engineer this more than the concept that Chet's created. And we'd have to weigh in on whether we like that it's narrow. I mean, the one we asked them to design is wider, for one, so that you could get, I don't know, 2 people could pass, one going up, one going down maybe, or maybe a gurney if you needed to. Who knows what you need to go up and down a ramp on, right? I'm happy to listen to all public comment on this. But I mean, council's perspective was pretty unified when we talked about it and gave him direction to go out for bid. So, you know, my expectation is that this is gonna come back next meeting and we'll now price will be introduced. Hopefully we have more than one bid and hopefully the amount is something that we feel is comfortable spending, because again, we didn't have it in our budget. Remember, we didn't budget it. We budgeted to do the improvement at Community Park, which has been completed, but this one, you know, was not, it's an unplanned items, but I think it's something we all have taken seriously. I probably won't be at the next meeting to help guide the discussion on that, so you guys could decide if you want to wait or if you want to take action, you know, But we're gonna have hopefully more than one bid and like I said, I haven't heard anybody advocate to change the direction we're going.
You bring very valid points. It's just, we need to be a little bit more clear about what our message is so that other people do not misinterpret the presence of memos like these in the packet as some sort of signal that this is still a viable option, because my interpretation of Chet's comments is that he is still under the impression that this is a viable option that can be explored and looked at, right? So when I'm reading this memo and other people are reading this memo, why is it here? Is it because, yes, this is still a possibility, or is it something that we looked at, we decided this is it, we're done? We just need to kind of decide what side of the fence we're on and just move on so that we can achieve some sort of outcome by Christmas and the kid can go up to Santa Claus and spend the holidays the way that child wants to do it. That's all I'm saying. Let's just have a clear, concise message, say this is where we're at, this is where we're standing, this is what's going on. Because yes, I do agree with you. We discussed the options, everyone was happy with it. So let's just say this is A and this is B and move along. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, did you have a hand up or? Okay, I mean, when I met with Chet, I'll just share what I talked about with him. We looked at the wraparound option first, and not the switchback. And if I can bring that design with me, but it does stick out a little bit on the end of the second side. It comes down one side and down the other, and the ramp comes down and it sticks out a little bit. So it's really a 2+. I conveyed to him that, you'd have railings on both sides. But you can picture what the railing is gonna look like, because we've put handrails up on two sides of the gazebo. Okay, so assuming we try to match that style of handrail, I don't know if you did or not, I didn't pay close enough attention to ask that question until now, but assuming you could visualize what that black handrail is gonna look like along two sides of the gazebo. Now, Chet says, well, maybe you go with the one-sided where you do a switchback. But now you're gonna have multiple rows of that railing all along one side. And while they're black, the railings are black in color, which tends to train your eye to either look past it or through it. There's physically gonna be a barrier there. His point is, if we put it out like we have it planned, you're not gonna be able to run around the gazebo without going out to the outer part of the sidewalk. That's the trade-off in the discussion, and that's the trade-off in the perspective. I think the memorial bricks comment that Terry Walters brought up tonight is important. I never envisioned that we were gonna destroy those. They'd always be relocated somewhere. Now, I don't know if the plan and the bid documents have identified where they go or what the impact is. Obviously, we're not gonna get rid of those because, it is called Monument Park. It's a tribute to a lot of different things for a reason in our name, but I support the sentiment that he said, where we gotta replace the bricks if we displace them. And we gotta get creative in how we do that and where they go, but that'll need to be done also.
There is a small bit of, at the landing where the ramp, and, there is some, basically, reworking some of the pavers, so that scope is in the documents, and we need to expand it.
Okay.
To, facilitate more location.
But I'm perfectly comfortable with the direction we're heading. I think we've acted as fast as maybe we could have without just hiring somebody off the, local carpenter to do the work right away. We are going through somewhat of a process. I'm hoping we get more than one bid. But we'll have to, when are bids due again? Remind me of the date.
They're due October 3rd, and I expect they'll be back for council on the 13th.
Okay. So we're a little less than 2 weeks out. Other questions for Justin?
Well, so I guess I'll follow up.
Please.
Does anyone want to see essentially final engineered plans for another option.
What's the cost of that?
I would guess probably 1,500 to 3,000, just off the cuff.
I
That
think it
sound-
can be, not necessarily need to be like to structured level documents, but at least to document, you know, the rise and run of where things need to go.
Yes, why?
Sorry. This is what I was maybe gonna say before. I mean, I know I was pretty vocal about, let's get this done ASAP. We should have done this a long time ago. And I understand that we all have agreed on this direction. It seemed like the most logical of the ones that we were presented with previously, you know, that were fleshed all the way out. In terms of, you know, the least amount of disruption to the park. I was out there today and I was looking at it. It's a lot of disruption. And it does go through, and I know I voted for this plan that I'm talking about right now. It does go through part of the grass where people sit for the concerts. And if there is a potentially viable option that doesn't do any of that, yeah, I'm inclined to want to look at it. And as I said, yes, I was like pretty vocal about making this happen fast. I think, however, I was also pretty vocal about looking at temporary options, which we never really did do. I'm not sitting here saying I want to look at another option just because, you know, I'm trying to drag this out or because of anything other than the fact that this is, if we're doing something permanent, this is permanent. And if it's going to cut through the park, when we potentially have an option for it not to do that, for it to just cut along the side and come out on an existing pathway, why wouldn't we look at that? I mean, I don't know if we just have some idea that it's not viable, and if we do, please let me know. I just, in looking at it, I don't know. I've also had people say to me, okay, well, we could do this temporary thing for cheap and then take it and put it out. Okay, well, who's responsible for that? I understand that's not something we want to start dealing with, but it's like, if that's what some people are saying they want, again, could this third option or this fourth option, I guess it is, potentially achieve that smaller footprint? I'm sorry, I know I'm rambling. It's just, I don't know. I would like to see this done ASAP. I just don't want us to regret it later. If there were an option to not create such a large footprint in a park that we use so often, but especially on the grassy area, is completely full with people multiple times a year. I don't know. That's just what I've been thinking about.
Justin?
Hey, so the intent is to come back to council with bids for the 13th. If at the meeting on the 13th, council doesn't want to take action or wants to move in a different direction, I can't promise that it will get done by Christmas. I just want to throw that out there.
I understand that.
Promise that anyway.
We haven't, and I understand that. If there, I guess what I'm saying is, can we simultaneously have these bids and a more detailed look at this other option to look at the same time? Not, you know, knowing that this other option, that just to see if it's viable, knowing that we don't have a cost estimate on the other option. I would like to see both of them at the same time, And if for some reason the majority of council looks at it and says, okay, oh, this is viable and this is a smaller footprint and it's great and we all like it for whatever reason, I don't think there's a reason why we can't move forward with a temporary option that would satisfy Christmas. I mean, like I said, that's why I've been asking about the temporary option multiple times in multiple meetings. Because I know this process is slow. It's the nature of government. And we're trying, we are where we are, but yeah, we have never promised that. But I just also don't see. I mean, it's tough because we just did have someone stand up and say, we don't need one at all. And I had written before that, I had written, well, can we work with, you know, some other community group to potentially to potentially partner to put in a temporary option until we sort through this and find the best solution. But it seems like maybe that's like a not like a non-starter.
Well, we haven't found the temporary solution, have we?
No, because we've never seen any.
Well, I did provide.
Okay,
temporary
well, we never looked into any, I should say. We never at this table talked about it and delved into it. But I'm done for now.
Okay, so October 3rd is when the bids are due? Okay, and you be able to bring that back in less than a week or before the packet's ready? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, other questions on Justin's report? Thank you, Patrick. Okay, I'll move on to my report. Just want to highlight that it was really fun a couple Fridays ago, standing inside the second floor of the future fire station. My report, I included a picture from the inside, because the last several weeks or months have been pictures from the outside. Good progress is being made. For those of you that weren't able to be there, there will be other opportunities to get there. I asked Justin a question about, I guess there's a couple false windows that we do. And we had to have
Correct.
false windows in order to meet our ordinance.
Correct.
I hadn't remembered that fact. Seems like there's a lot of windows there.
No, they're false.
No, just two, well. I don't know, maybe we should revisit that, what our ordinance says, is what I'm thinking. There's a lot of windows on that building except for on one side. But anyway, the building's coming along, it's fantastic, inside and out. And they're planning on getting it closed, I think, by the end of October is what I sort of heard as a tentative timeline. So, more good stuff to follow. I wanted to just expand on the DDA's activities a little bit. And as it relates to closed session that was asked about earlier, you know, all of the properties on Main Street between Alpine and Clock Tower for years have utilized a dumpster that was behind them somewhere. Okay, and in more recent times, that dumpster has been located on the property that has the current Cottage Inn building. The steps between those two properties and the retaining wall that was put up years ago by the DDA to help facilitate that activity, the steps are in disarray and need to be improved. And we've tried to work with multiple property owners to get an easement so that we could have the right to do the work. Probably something we should have had years ago when we first started it, but we didn't get one. And the property owners have been unwilling to go so far as to give the city an easement that we need to do the work on those properties. Which I think has turned our city manager and staff to look for other ways, which potentially involve the purchase of other property around there that might help with this. That's what that's for. Another idea that was floated over the last couple of weeks was that maybe the property owners would fix the steps. And thereby, if they did it, spent their money, that wouldn't require the city or the DDA to spend the money. I just wanted you to know that that option is still out there. It hasn't been discussed too far beyond that, but there might be a couple of paths that are pursued or at least talked about over the next several weeks to see if we can figure out something there. We used to have an arrangement with the Cottage Inn property owner where we would plow their parking lot in exchange for them allowing cars to park there, so it could be public parking, which was a benefit to the city / downtown. And so that there was shared cooperation to use the dumpster. And all of that has eroded a little bit. We don't, I think, intend to plow their parking lot this year. Is that correct? Because that's been sort of, that agreement sort of, it was a quasi written agreement that's sort of been torn up, I guess, is where we're at. So there would need to be another agreement that came up with either way, but I just wanted to expand on, that's what's going on there is because we do organized garbage collection, we're trying to do it in the right way and have a meaningful spot that we can count on long-term to take their garbage in a central spot so that they're not just putting carts out, which would be the fallback that I think would make it very difficult for people to pick up and service. So just wanted to cover a little more on that. If anybody has any questions for me on anything, I'm happy to always take them. Okay, I'll try to keep this moving. Sorry, 10 to 9. We are down to council member reports under J7. Does anybody have anything to add? Verbal or otherwise? Seeing none, there are 2 items on the consent agenda.
I will move that we approve those 2 consideration items. 1, bills and payroll in the amount of $1,050,000. $50,508.02. And 2, Running Fit Events road closure permit request for the Holiday Hustle 5K and half marathon on 12/6/25.
Motion by Hubbard, second by Pablo. Thank you. Please call the vote to approve the 2 items on the consent agenda.
Popoff,
Yes.
Tell,
Yes.
Aldag.
Yeah.
Semi-Pharaoh,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Keel.
Yes, motion carries. We have no unfinished business. We're now down to the 4 items of new business. The first item under new business is consideration of a resolution to support the annexation of 45 acres of land held by Baker Road Land Holdings LLC from Scioto Township into the city of Dexter. Page 197 of our packet. As I mentioned, I'll start here. As I mentioned, we've had a couple meetings. Our council committee has met a couple times with representatives of Baker Land Holdings. And as council's aware, back in earlier part of the year, we received preliminary indication that there is a working well, or the ability to have a working well on that property. We noted some things about the well that we liked, i.e. the capacity. It seems like the capacity was there. For the most part, the water quality is there, sufficient to have drinking water. The water that comes from that well, would need to be treated, which would require a treatment facility of some type. We also noted that the well was at a slight angle, not meeting whatever APWA requirements or whatever. And there was discussion over, the cost of that well, who would operate that well, who would build the well, who would design the well, all those different things, right? It's that topic, the well topic. Okay, we've talked about other things related to the annexation, traffic, number of units, number of homes, style of home, approximate cost of the home, access, construction traffic. There's a lot of things that I don't think we can necessarily answer today, but the well was one potential benefit that this council asked. If we do this, how can the project benefit the citizens of Dexter going forward, outside of just additional homes and tax dollars. And after the meeting of several months ago, and if I get the dates wrong or I say anything incorrect, raise your hand and correct me, but they submitted the report that was made on that to Eagle. And there is a letter here in the packet, right? Page is that on, Justin? It's on page 209 and 210 of the packet, I think. And if you haven't read the letter yet, you know, I think it's worth reading. But I put this item out in front because I think all of these steps take time. Okay, and when you can't jump right to the end of any of this stuff. But one thing I know is that as long as our residents drink well water and that we provide water from wells, we are sort of in the business to be looking for wells and for water. And I can't help but ignore that there's an opportunity here to really solidify our water system. It gives us a lot of flexibility. There's no dodging around it. Now, there's a cost to that. We would have to make that decision to do that if we should decide on you know, going forward with something. And to that end, I realize this is a consideration item, but I'm by no means saying that council has to take action tonight if you want to think about some things, or maybe there's some questions we have. But I worked with the city manager to draft a resolution, to have him draft a resolution that's here. And I've laid it out, or tried to lay it out to provide, you know, the backgrounds on what the request is. You know, propose some considerations or conditions on the annexation. And then suggest that, you know, if we did take action, we could, you know, talk to our attorneys about whatever the binding agreements might be needed that need to be in place. Certainly talk to Scioto Township about our decision, because one of their questions to us, ever since we were meeting with them and when we stopped meeting with them, you know, was, you know, are we interested in the annexation? We haven't formally told them whether we're interested or not. And throughout that process, there's been a lot of, you know, things like, what did our master plan used to say? What was the language in there? We've changed that, you know. But if you look historically at who we are and how we've done things, whenever we've had an annexation topic, we've always talked to the neighboring property owner or the neighboring township or municipality. We've always involved them in the discussion. Most of the time in the past, we've agreed on things with those communities. So, you know, I would encourage we have a conversation as well. I've last Sunday or 2 Sundays ago, Kathy Knoll, the Scioto Township trustee who's online here, she was good enough to make time on Sunday afternoon to talk to me. I did tell her I was going to be on the agenda. And then I wrote an email to their subcommittee that Joe and Sanam and I met with, so that Jessica and John Reiser were also aware of the fact that it was going to be on our agenda. Again, my goal is to try and directionally nudge us into thinking about, you know, do we want to do this? And again, you know, a year or so ago or more, it was, well, we don't want to do it if we don't know if there's well water there or not. Well, we've answered that question. That question has significantly been answered. Are there going to be more questions? Yes. Will there be questions around traffic and how many homes and what style and, you know, what type of home? Market rate, affordable, attainable, somewhere in the middle? All of those things don't have to be answered in one day, but I think that we're stronger. I think this is an opportunity to get stronger. And if council wants to, again, you know, take a couple weeks, take a month, I'd like to be part of the vote. one way or the other, I'd like to be part of the vote, so I'm not planning to have Justin put this back on the next agenda unless somebody wants it there. But, I think we need to be thinking about this, or, you know, we've done our evaluation. There might be things we need to still evaluate, but, you know, the developers helped us. They've done a lot of work. They're agreeable to allowing us to have a facility. We gotta work out the land and where it is, because, you know, the isolation distance thing might change the site plan a little, or I don't know. I haven't gotten that far. But I think we all need to think about whether we're ready to do this or not. And, I'll stop and see if you have any questions from me. Joe, thank you for raising your hand. No, silence.
Definitely. So the coming to an agreement for the annexation. So one of just an ongoing concern about the annexation going forward and stuff like that. You know, we have a lot of experience in the past 25-ish years with developments with that have gone forward, big, small, commercial, residential. We haven't done an annexation of something, you know, of this size in a long time. And I agree 100% with what the mayor said about, you know, determining what type of housing goes in there, how big they're gonna be, all that kind of stuff, the zoning stuff, that kind of stuff, the planning commission stuff. I think as a community, we're pretty good at. I think we have experience in that. I mean, we've just gone through an update of the master plan that goes into some of those things around the housing and whatnot. I think those things definitely would be appropriately covered at a future point if the annexation were to go through. It doesn't necessarily need to be something that, you know, you have to iron out ahead of time, because otherwise it doesn't even matter if you did it ahead of time, you still got to go through the planning process. So the only things I'm concerned about on a potential agreement would be things that don't necessarily go through a planning process. And the only two that I see as important, one, the applicant mentioned tonight that they were talking about access road for the construction. I think that's important for one, from the standpoint of the residents at Dexter Crossing, and two, for the quality of the roads. I mean, literally these roads, we just, you know, this year and last year, we've gone through and done work on those roads. It's something that is a major expense for us, and obviously we don't want to see damage there. And the second thing is the potential for future development off of that piece of property. So right now, you know, there's the developer that did the neighborhood there put 2 stubs in. So, you know, nobody can come along and say, oh, I never knew that anything was going to go in here. It's like, these roads are not roads to nowhere. They were roads that were going to a potential development. At one point in time, there was actually part of the map that showed that property is potentially being part of the city or the village at that time. It's been planned forever. It's part of the original plan. It was going to be in there. So given that, the question for me is what goes around the outside of that? And I know there's a proposal to preserve some of that land and some things like that, but I feel like it's an easy ask and an easy commitment from the applicant to say, yes, I will put something in place that creates a boundary around that property I mean, to the east, there's other residential properties. It's not gonna expand that way. But to the south and to the west, there's still the potential that, you know, you could have an expansion out that way, some amount, whatever it might be, more probably toward the south. And I don't think we want to have that go on again. Some of the people under unarranged participation tonight had said, you know, they worried about things like traffic. Well, truthfully, honestly, Dexter Crossing was designed with the traffic that would be to that part that is not yet developed yet already. That's why those stubs are there. They were part of the original plan. So, I mean, but there is more going forward. Those roads weren't necessarily planned for cut through from Baker or from Marshall Road. They, you know, and they weren't necessarily set up for even more development. So the only two things that personally I would like to see if we do an agreement is those two items. And I think the access road, like I said, they've already discussed that they're working on. And I think, I don't know what mechanism it is, but somehow saying we're gonna have a border here, whatever it is, that's you know, do not cross, you can't develop over this. You know, the design shows actually, you know, a stub going out to the west side of the development at the far southwest corner. And I understand that because there's houses that front on it there. So I understand it has to get there and potentially have a bulb or something like that. But, you know, we don't want somebody extending that further out. So. Thank you.
One more thought that I didn't work into my previous comments. I liked in the letter from Eagle. It's the second paragraph on the second page where they say Eagle understands that the possibility of the city of Dexter taking ownership as well is being explored. I think that's an open invitation to have a meeting with Eagle. And it could be with our staff, and I don't have any problem with the, you know, property owner being there either. To talk about how that might work or how that might look or what they might have to say. I mean, I know that Tim probably has some questions. The letter doesn't address the angle of the well. You know, I think that's an unanswered question. Okay, that we want to have a right to ask a question about. So what I'd like to do or to suggest is that we have that meeting or request that meeting and have that meeting with Eagle. I think it would be prudent to do so. You know, I don't know Sean Brown. I'm sure you do, Tim. I'm sure he can take a meeting. And you know, that would give us a chance to vet it a little bit ourselves. But my goal is, I think I've reached the stage where I think this is a good thing. And I think that there's more positives than negatives and you know, at some time in the foreseeable future, I'd like to ask the question of council to support it. So this was my way of getting it out in front of everybody again after it hasn't been out there for a while. And if you have comments on the resolution, it was presented as a draft, but it was directionally meant to get us thinking about what direction do we want to go. Justin, is there anything I haven't said that you want to say?
No, I mean, I think, you know, we covered a lot of the kind of outstanding items. I mean, you know, I think for staff, the big question is, the look of or not the look, the construction of the well, questions of Eagle about the, isolation distance.
It does say a waiver can be requested.
Mhm.
So I mean, that would be the meeting could allow us to explore that a little bit too.
Mhm.
But those are the kind of details that I think become important in all this. You know, if we leave them unanswered, they become they become unanswered questions, you know.
Wanted to kind of I would like to point out the fact that annexation or the desire to annex this piece of land is nothing more but a shaping action for this council to have authority over it. Yes, the well is a fantastic thing, but right now that's a well in another township, not in the city of Dexter. Annexation is nothing more or discussion for us to have an authority to make decisions about this piece of property. We know that the developer has worked on this piece of property before, and it didn't pan out the way the plan came. That's why they're here with us. But at the end of the day, the fate of what will be developed there is very far in the future. And I think we need to just more focus on things that are immediate, that will allow us to shape our further actions. Frankly, I think resolution about annexation only makes sense for us to give ourselves an authority to make decision about this piece of property. And only then we can start making other agreements or have other influence over what's going to happen. When the residents come and say that, hey, we don't want to support this, the reality becomes, well, there's nothing I can currently do. It's Kathy and the other township who has influence over this piece of land, not I. This is nothing more than a permission for us to say that, yes, we will have some sort of authority, that this group will have authority over what's going to happen there. And I think that we should not forget that fact. And I think that should be the primary focus for us at this stage, is to focus on what we can do. All these small shaping actions is what allows us to make those decisions. That's it.
Thank you. Appreciate those comments. David, anything you want to say, or would you be okay if we tried to set up a meeting?
I'm fine with that. If I hear you say you won't be at the next meeting.
I will not be at the next council meeting. Highly likely I will not be here on the 13th.
Neither will I. So that would be a reason to go 2 meetings out, it seems. If this is gonna be brought back. I have some comments prepared. I don't want to interfere with the discussion, but I'd be happy to share some thoughts. I mentioned the concerns that I have. Having read the resolution. Here we are at this point where my concerns. Would you like to hear it?
I think it's helpful if we know what you're thinking. Yep.
Okay.
Please.
We too are seeking more information from Eagle. Eagle has told us relative to the variance that we've requested for 100-foot isolation rather than the 200 that's mentioned in the resolution and in the letter from Eagle. They have told us that 2 criteria have to be met. One is that you have a clay cap over the aquifer of at least 10 feet. We have more than that, so we believe we meet that criteria. The second is that you have either what's defined as a leaky or confined aquifer. Leaky meaning partially leaking, but mostly confined. In the letter, I think it states that that's what we have also. So we're feeling somewhat confident about our ability to get the variance and use this well in this location. It seems a little bit, and we want to talk further with Eagle about this. It feels like a catch-22 that they have said the decision on your variance won't happen until it's time to make the 399 permit application. That's the pre-construction permit, and that would be a permit that I would see if we're moving forward with the annexation, that Dexter would be the one making that application. And you need, before you do a pre-construction permit, you need to know where the well is going to be.
So it seems illogical to us that they haven't answered that question yet, and we intend to have further discussions with them on that subject. So that's something relative to the isolation distance. Regarding the alignment, the plumbness of the well, we missed by 6 or 8 inches the definition, or the guideline rather, from the national well experts. But my consultant believes that those recommendations are specific to what's called a line shaft turbine pump. I know that's what Tim would prefer to have, but if a submersible pump doesn't need those restrictions, and that's what I'm being told, is that a submersible pump system will work. And you're not governed by those alignment guidelines. You have submersible pump wells in your system now. This would be another one. Of course, I think you've all heard that this well has more capacity than any of your existing wells. So again, there's value in terms of the quantity. This well is, because it's crooked, I'll use that word, not a technical term, and it deviates, I believe, by 17 inches over its 150-foot depth. Won't work for a line shaft turbine pump. The alternative then is to drill a new well. At a cost of $75,000 to $100,000. That would be certainly negative to any return I'm going to get from this project, but it also would be negative for what gets built. And I come back to the point that I wanted to build moderately priced housing, which sadly today is $375,000 to $425,000 to $450,000. That is what moderately priced housing can be produced for today. Our hydrologist is away and traveling tonight, couldn't be at this meeting, but I wanted to share some of that. The other, in addition to the cost of having to produce a new well, there would also then be another 3 or 4 month delay as we make that application back to Eagle for approval of a new well. We've just been through that process. We submitted in June, we got approval, and we were pleased to get approval by September. That was on the short end of their estimate. So again, Mark Sweatman, who has met twice with the committee you appointed, respectfully disagrees with the need for a line shaft turbine pump on this well. Regarding the resolution, which, as I said, I greatly appreciate your producing it, both mayor and city manager, getting this discussion further along. I'd like to suggest just a couple of changes to it to be considered. Page 200 of the packet, there is a whereas that talks about the isolation distance. For this change, it says requires a 200-foot isolation distance. Since that distance is still in a variance request decision-making process, perhaps we could say that something like requires an isolation distance that will be determined by Eagle when it completes the property owner's variance request. Set that aside and let's wait for the Eagle decision. The other thing that I would like to change is on the next page, move or rewrite resolution 1A. I don't have that in front of me. That would be another change that I would recommend. I don't know, get it, or somebody can tell me what 1A
Is
says.
that the one about the property owner agrees to design and install a water supply well meeting the AWWA standards for plumbness and serviceability as required by the city? Of Dexter's Public Services
Yeah.
Superintendent?
Right, we could, for the time being at least, take that out of the resolution. I think that's a decision that could be made between the city and the developer as we negotiate the binding contract that's referenced in the resolution. To decide on the timeline of question, there are a lot of potential and timing issues around that. So that would be my recommendation. Not go with the way you want it. No.
Okay.
Just a few thoughts on density. If my remarks that I have that. Mayor Tito asked in the second committee meeting that we had with your committee, if there was more density back up, we have offered $1 million to Dexter to help with the construction of the fire building well. And Ron's question was, would you pay more if you got more density in the project? My answer was qualified maybe. It's too early for me to answer that, and I think there are a lot of questions. One of which is a question: what does more density do to the overall community of planning? And of course, all of that has to go through the site plan approval with your planning commission. Along with those aesthetic concerns and the concerns of the residents of Dexter Crossing, they are the people who are most affected by this development. So I think it's early. We can certainly look at it. Tom and I have discussed some ways that some additional density may be possible. We haven't taken it anywhere yet on an engineering basis. But I will say to council, if there is more density, I can probably do something more in the way of financial contribution for the well infrastructure. It's just too early to make it.
Well, David, it seems to me as you're going through your notes that, you know, if we both have questions for Eagle. Yeah, that we should have a meeting with Eagle. This was an attempt to make sure we're starting. I want to go down a process. I'd like to get to, yes, what I'd like to get to. Okay, but, you know, you have some questions for Eagle, we have some questions for Eagle. The resolution could be modified accordingly as we go forward.
How do you feel about it?
Well, that's what I suggested in my soliloquy. I think we should meet together. I think that makes the most sense. Thank you. Maybe you and Justin can work on setting that up together, if it's, that's not how you want to do it, or coordinate dates. Obviously, Tim, I know you're going out of town for a little bit. It's gotta be when you're here. You know, you're a key player in this, so.
I would like to be there. Awesome.
Yeah, I would think our committee will probably join or be included, yes.
That would be great.
Okay, we had any further discussion needed on this? Do we? You can ask some questions.
Hey, Tim, how many wells we got right now? what's that rule says, one goes down, you have to be able to do a certain percentage, still need that max capacity or
Firm capacity.
firm capacity. And, we can currently do that with the 5 wells we have. We can do a firm capacity. How, close are we to blowing out on ERUs? How much more space we got in the, water department? Can we, I know initially we wanted to do a lot of the infill and stuff in town, and I think a lot of that's done. Is this going to put up our, is it gonna make it? Is it gonna be? Is it gonna make it difficult to? Well, I understand the rationale for a new well in the future, not just for that, but for the city as a whole.
Yeah, so right, we did a capacity study.
Okay.
And we can provide that.
Right. I just wanna know, if this does 800 gallons a minute, what do all our other ones do?
I think each well,
All of them?
each,
All each? And this is 8? 23?
essentially all of our other wells could go down and we could operate off of an 800 gallon a minute capacity well.
Now. We don't become. Too prepared, do we? We only have so much water, we just don't know what to do with it because of the next well, will we?
You want to put water restrictions.
Well, that's, yeah, that's something sort of.
And to go on that, prior to the water restrictions, we were creeping up close to our capacity.
Yeah, and that's what we've been watching for years.
When it first started. It opened, gallons a day,
Right.
and that's what. a lot of first.
It's just an extension of that conversation, I believe. How many units are we looking to put in here? 40, 100?
That's.
Where will all the, where will you have the, removal of the, contaminant? Will that be down at the water plant or will it be right on site? You know, like the arsenic and all that stuff? It would be, and the iron, and is that all on site too? Good. I'm trying to look 30 years down the road. But Joe does have a point. That was section 7 and 8 of the original. Dexter Crossing, I remember that. You're not even putting in 8. It's 7.
Oh, Pablo's point is good too. I mean, this land isn't even indexed. We're doing a lot of talking about it. Oh, and so, you know, the right to govern it comes with wanting to accept the responsibility for it. And
That's what I'm trying to get my head around. You don't want the responsibility? Travel.
that's what everybody should think about. So now,
I can make a couple points and, overall, some of them have been said. As I believe everybody here knows, I live on Wellington Drive as well, and this property is in the back of, our backyard, basically. But even, before council, on behalf of Dexter Crossing HOA, I had come to this body, I had gone to SIO to talk of some of the points that there has been many plans of development well before I was here since 2016 and since then. And some of the points mentioned has been part of this discussion of what the Dexter Crossing, what was important to Dexter Crossing neighbors. Joe and I have talked about these, his points, well summarizes the, at least the two main concerns of not having the construction traffic through, Dexter Crossing and having no stops planned or proposed the 45 acres. So when I look at this project, I am reminded that we are not just making a decision for the residents today. This is a decision that will impact the city and our residents for decades down the road. So it is very important to do it right, in my opinion. Gift of water is a fantastic gift. If we can give that to the city of Dexter, for the future. I have mentioned that, it always concerns me that all of our waters are in one basket in some sense. And having the options to me is very important, and it's a great possibility for this body to leave for the future generations. Now, that said, I would definitely like to know more and have a conversation with Eagle. There are definitely questions at on the table for us to understand that better, to see if this is something that can be good for the city of Dexter. There has been comments about the nature back there. And I do appreciate it very much every morning, seeing all the deer walking around and all the turkeys, and it is fantastic, and even the coyotes that come to our window at times. The properties in Scioto Township, if the annexation doesn't go through, that does not guarantee that there will be no development there. It just means that we will not be discussing what is best or having a say in what is best for the city of Dexter. The current proposal of the 45 acres and the 100 acres of preserve at least gives us that ability to have some preserve left out of that property. So those are some of the thoughts that I am having as we are considering this and thinking what is the best for the city. And I think we'll know more after our discussion with you.
Okay, so Justin, you're gonna work with Mr. Lutton to set up the meeting with Eagle. And we'll plan to try and have this back on the agenda on the 27th of October for an update. Okay, let's move on to M2. Consideration of the direction regarding the sale of property at the intersection of Dexter Ann Arbor Road and Meadowview. David, Tom, thanks for attending tonight. Appreciate it. Page 229 of the packet. Listen, you want to give an update on what's transpired over the last 30 days or so?
Sure. So as we discussed with council, we received a letter of interest. We then put it out to the public through our typical means to let folks know that we were accepting letters of interest. And we did receive a second. And at the deadline, which was the 16th, I believe. On the 16th, as of that date, we did receive only two, the initial one and the second. I tried to outline in a spreadsheet on page 240, kind of the terms of those letters of interest. And I included both sets of letters of interest in the packet for you to review. I tried to outline a little bit kind of what potential next steps could be. Ultimately, city council will need to issue and hold a public hearing regarding the sale to comply with the terms of the charter. But, that, I'll turn it over.
So, just quickly, when we received the first offer, the one prepared by Real Estate Partners, Justin Watt and I were able to meet with those folks and we met with them in this room and just, you know, basically talked to them a little bit about what was in the letter and make sure we understood what we and more than that. At the time, it was probably a week or 10 days before the September 16th deadline, so there's still time. We've since received a second offer, the one from Shore North. Their proposed purchase price is higher. But and they proposed to put less down. But they want a longer inspection period, 3 times longer, 180 days. They also want governmental approvals for proposed use, which to me apply to the site plan process. And commission paid by the seller. You know, in fairness to the process, I'd like to at least have a conversation with them, similar to the one we had with. Yeah, I think I was gonna say Brandon. But if we have, and I haven't responded, Justin's tried to ask about that meeting, I haven't given them a break yet, but I'd like to do that. But I am interested to know how council feels about the second offer. You know, should we do that? Do you like the second offer? Are there things you like about it, things you don't like about it? What are council's thoughts on? It's nice to have 2 options. Joe.
So in reading through the letter, from the second proposal, overall, I'm having a hard time figuring out exactly what it is that they're committing to and exactly what it is they're asking us to, what they're asking from the city as a commitment and as I don't want another 3045 Broad. I don't want this thing sitting here for 10 years when we don't have building there. On one hand, the first applicant, I think I think it's a good plan. I liked it when I first heard about it. I think it's appropriate for the area. The second proposal, I mean, obviously the higher purchase price is advantageous for the city. I like the idea of some more density. In reading through the project description, though, they say as a mixed unit development company, we see the possible opportunity to include first floor commercial use and are open to including this as we work through the city through the entitlements process. There's also a discussion in there about city manager mentioned, you know, about how to work in the tax financing. That's what they would need in order to do that. It seems like in reading it, it is a proposal for a building that could potentially be just an apartment building. I'm 100% not in favor of that. You know, 20 years ago, I wasn't in favor of even court movement in either. You know, that land was in the DDA. It was supposed to be developed for commercial property. It was supposed to develop and have jobs in the community and provide services to the community. It was not there for residential properties. And at the time, the council carved off the top half of that property. We did meet in court and put those condos in. And, you know, left the property that's there now. I think a mixed use would be great, but again, we have the same thing on the property on Jefferson, right? It has condos upstairs, it has commercial downstairs, and they've had difficulty putting that in. I don't want it to be in a public corner. That's how I feel about that. And like I said, I really want to understand what it means by what commitments they're asking from the city. What it is from a brownfield stand or the brownfield. TIF that they're, what that implies or means for us. You know, there's a discussion there that says. Our intended development will focus on delivering workforce housing rental units at or below 120% of the AMI and market rate units. Doesn't say there's gonna be 3 AMI units and 87 market rate, or if there's gonna be 3 market rate and 87 the other way, or something in between there, how that works out. There's just, it's so. You could drive a truck through this. It's so open, so big. And again, I don't want, I mean, we've had a number of apartment buildings that have been proposed for the city that haven't come to fruition. Frankly, I'd rather see the first proposal go in and be built and serve the community and provide a service for decades to come, rather than wait 10 years to see what's happening. So I'm not saying no, we shouldn't look at that. I think we should look at it, but it needs more definition. It needs more. It needs to be fleshed out a little bit more.
Okay, now,
Thank you. I agree. So when I looked at the 2 proposals, the first one that we have received from Merlot Real Estate Partners, it's a very clean, direct proposal from somebody, and in the proposal, you can tell that it is from somebody who has been part of the community, understands the community, and wants to remain and be part of the community. There were many questions from the second one. Joe covered many of my thoughts, so I'm not gonna repeat. But I do think that from my perspective, again, I think meeting with the second one can give them the same opportunity of discussion, absolutely. But I do like the first proposal better as it matches the rest of the area as well. It provides a building, again, thinking down the road of other possibilities that can bring. Even though it's a lower price, I think to me, it's what is our total cost of doing this? And I prefer that one.
take this. Why, you have your hand up? No? Okay, great.
I need some help with something. Project will require incentive through the city to get brownfield or brownfield, is it something I never heard about?
I'm assuming brownfield.
Okay. And then under the seller to provide, I see we're providing a lot of stuff here. What do we mean by government approvals for proposed use? It's not, we haven't received anything, so I don't even know if it fits the zoning overlay, or I don't know what's allowed in that. Are 3-story apartment buildings allowed in that? They are. And I don't understand what the approval request is. Why should I have to approve anything? It's all in the ordinance.
Well, that,
So to me, that appears they don't know what kind of approvals they'll need. It's almost like they're coming in here. You know, hot shot gunslinger type of deal here. You know, I don't like, I've never seen a seller pay a commission. And for the difference in price, I'm willing to give up that 1.5 just to not go through all the hassle. And to have something in there I know is gonna be a moneymaker. And then something ain't gonna have to come in front of me for approval all the time. All right, says, 240. Seller to provide. And then I'm looking at the purchase price.
So remember,
240.
remember 240 is Justin's
Just a little
some
steep.
comparison of certain things. Right, that was just meant to be a side by side of certain,
Of course.
yeah, okay. And that's my point. I mean, we need to make sure, I think we owe it to ourselves and the community to have a conversation with the Shore North, whoever they are. Okay, they were contacted by Eric Helzer, who did work for the DDA, who knows Dexter. So this person or group took the time to write us a letter. I think we should have a similar conversation that we had with the other one. But I wholeheartedly agree with Joe, and I tried to suggest it when I said this, you know, I'm not really interested in a 3 times longer inspection period. You know, I think the first offer has a lot of advantages. Personally, but I try to treat everybody fairly and think we should have the conversation with the second person to understand what they've got out in front of them, in front of us. Because the questions are, everybody's asking the same question. What does government approvals mean? I think I know what it means. You might not know what it means. I'd like to hear, I'd like to hear what they think it means.
Right.
Okay, so that's the only way we're gonna have that is by talking to them.
Yeah, and the way it's phrased makes me wanna not cooperate at all.
Well, I'm sure they've written many of these letters of intent. This isn't the first one they've probably written.
Understood.
So.
First one they've done in town, oh yeah.
So we probably should have had discussion, but I like to leave the option in case the council wants to move forward with something on the table as a consideration. That's why I put it, we talked about whether it should be consideration or discussion. But if council is supportive of letting Juan and Justin and I meet, we will meet with North Shore, or Shore North, and come back with more clarifications and maybe even a moderate recommendation. If you don't want us to do that, then, you know, somebody could make a motion tonight if you want. But like I said, I think it'd be prudent for us to meet with them.
Just, I think you made a very good point. Yes, I think meeting with them is very important, just for the council to also think about, that little tax value we can get back for the city, even with 10-year incentives. Building is putting up there, what is the government that will generate down here? Even if we are paying out of pocket for the commission, it's still $100,000 more than the other offer, which is also very good offer. Very certain offer, very well-defined offer. But 20 years down the road, what type of development will give city more? Is it going to be a medical building or is it going to be a mixed use building? And perhaps Michelle will be designated an expert on telling us what will give more revenue down the road with that development based on the offers, even at these early stages. Whether we expect that an option that will produce more money for the budget.
Based on just.
Just, I mean, obviously they need to be answered.
I want to talk to this down the road. Not knowing, number of units, things like that.
It's too early to know. Okay, so is council supportive of the direction I'm suggesting? We'll have a meeting with them and come back? Okay. All right, Justin, let's set that up then. I'll get back to you. We'll figure it out.
Yep.
Okay.
And then have this back for
If we're
We're
ready, we
thinking
can bring it back on the 13th. I mean, if we can meet them by then.
Mhm.
Okay, new business item M3, resolution for expansion of downtown Dexter Social District and common area boundaries. This has kind of been thrown out there a few meetings ago, and we've tried to wait until everybody was here. Didn't know Dan wasn't gonna be here today, but nonetheless, it's on the agenda. Sam, I think you asked for it specifically on,
Yeah.
right? So I'll let you lead, please.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a motion to expand the downtown Dexter social district in common areas to the map on page 251.
I'll second.
Motion by Aldag, second by Savafaro. Okay, thoughts, discussion?
I'm gonna wonder what thing to do today. I think it only makes sense. This is truly the heart of town. Why has it not been part of the social district? All right. That honestly is my reaction to this, and great, thank you for putting it up.
Need no further hands, I'm going to ask Beth to call the question.
Does this bring us any further revenue?
Oh, you have a question.
No.
Hand should go up, right?
Does it bring us any further revenue?
No,
Does it cost us anything other than enforcement?
we'll have to buy more cups because 42 North is in the district.
We don't buy cups, we buy labels.
We buy
Is
what?
that what it is?
Buy the labels.
Oh, the labels, yeah, buy
That's
more
the
labels, right, sorry, I misspoke. Right.
And at this particular point, they are eligible, and so they're listed, but they have not gotten their license yet, so they aren't giving anything out. So.
So no, practically no. The DDA covers that anyway.
I know,
I don't think. Go ahead.
signs.
Yeah, a few more signs. Yeah, could take a few signs down and just move.
Basically, that might make some certain businesses very.
Yes, no questions, sir? Yep. Thank
What are
you.
they, like solo cups, 16-ounce solo cups?
Basically. If a business wants to do them red, they'll make them red. Want to do them clear, they'll make them clear.
This, I'm just trying to envision a time when there'd be a lot of people doing it, and I know those don't go into the garbage can real good unless you stack them, they just pull it out of garbage. I guess that's a summer thing to worry about.
So one of the things that goes along with the social district rules through the Michigan Liquor Control Commission is every business has to have a garbage can. Right now, we have that. Erratic Ales has the big dumpster, so, you know, they have a big weekend like they had over Dexter Days, I think it is. They've got a dumpster to handle it. We'll have to get a couple more trash cans because we don't have one down at excuse me, 42 North, but again, they're not yet participating, so we've got some time.
What generated this?
What generated it? My understanding is that during Dexter Days, there was so much vibrancy in town,
Vibrancy?
vibrancy.
Oh, I see.
In other words, there were people having a good time.
Yeah.
Whether they were drinking or not. And you could not, if you got a beverage from Aubrey's, say, or from the beer garden, you could not go across the street and with your beverage, your alcoholic beverage, and take in, you know, just the park, the vendors, because the park isn't part of the social district. So it
Wasn't, yeah, isn't currently.
isn't currently.
Would they allow the beer tent to have their patrons now?
So the beer
Different.
tent is a separate license
Okay.
and it has nothing to do with the social district. If somebody gets a beverage from Aubrey's and goes into the park, they cannot go into the beer tent. Likewise, the beer tent, you can't take that beverage out of that enclosed area. Two separate types of permits that do not go together.
Okey dokey.
You have your hand up?
I guess. I mean, I don't know how Councilmember Aldag would answer the question, of maybe that's what your hand is up about, what prompted this. For me, I would say, and you know what, my job is not enforcement. I know I could report things, but I've seen plenty of people during events already over there with social district cups. So if people are already doing it and nothing's happening, number one, people assume it's already part of the district. And number two, let's be realistic. It's not something that's going to be enforceable practically on a practical,
So the,
unless we have someone out at events, unless we make some major changes, it's not going to be enforced. Okay, I take that back because I understand we want to enforce, that's a secondary issue. The issue is that it's already being done. People assume it. I can see why, especially because there are plenty of ways you can get to the park from these establishments without seeing the sign that says you're exiting the social district.
Sana?
Thank you. Yeah, the reason that I brought it up, we already had some areas that were part of this. And as Pablo mentioned, I have been to cities like Traverse City that has that central aspect that people can grab drinks from the establishments around and come and sit. And the map we had, given that, 42 North wasn't at the time interested, and it felt not comprehensive. It felt like you didn't know where you were going for one step to the other step, whether you're in the social district or not. This just allows it for not only our big events, but also events that now many of our stores together do, right? That they do the Halloween, they do the Valentine's Day. There are many of those that brings everybody around and walking around and going to the stores or buy it. And so it allows for that movement in our town much better than somebody has to like think where they're going. And in terms of the park, we do serve alcohol in our park for events, right? So there is already, to me, alcohol in the park. And this only makes it more, in my opinion, actually easier and better to understand and watch and make sure that everybody is okay. As it's something that then puts our eyes that this is our social district as a whole. So that's, and I think it just makes it for a fun and good fun downtown.
The only thing I would have liked to have seen was an existing map versus proposed. It would have been very clear to show what we were going from and to with the second map. But can't go back to that, so. But I wholeheartedly support the expansion. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please call the vote.
Tell,
Yes.
Popov,
Yes.
Aldag,
Yes.
Semi-Pharaoh,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Keel.
Yes,
Thank you all.
thank you. Motion carries. New business item M4, our last new business item, consideration of a resolution authorizing the execution of a legal services agreement related to the AFFF product liability litigation, class action litigation participation with Stag Louisa LLC.
What?
Maybe I pronounced it wrong.
That's not my actual name. Got it.
It might be Liuza, but
I have no idea. I tried to do the best I could.
Right.
This was put on the agenda by our city manager, so I'll turn that over to Justin.
So this is an item that I brought to council before for discussion. And something that council has discussed before. The period where we can submit for claims as part of the class action suit against the producers of PFAS and PFOA chemicals expires at the end of this year. We have had the wells tested previously and they came back to me for PFAS. You can't make a claim if you don't find anything, but the law firm that has approached us will essentially pay for any testing that we may want to do of the source water at the wells to determine whether or not they're, as of today or the day that we test, exists PFAS. Again, we've done tests before and found nothing. But we wanted to bring this as a opportunity or conclusion of we can test again if we want, if we would like to, and have someone else pay for it. Should something be found, then we would be eligible to participate in a class action settlement. If nothing is found, there's no harm, no foul to anybody other than time.
Did we ever learn whether we could use our own attorney?
I mean, Scott never indicated that he had experience or interest in.
Could you ask this guy if we could use a different attorney?
Well, I think we can use anybody who is capable of doing the work.
It just, but they may not offer to do the testing like this person. So is that the primary benefit?
I mean, I think that's really the only benefit. I mean, if we start with the assumption that there isn't anything there.
I had intended to talk to Scott Bell about this. I have not done that. Scott may have an opinion, but he's the only one I know that knows more about this than I think we collectively. Right?
When will they do the testing?
It would have to be pretty soon in order to make the claim by the end of the year, if there is something, if they were to find something.
This is only a one-time thing till the end of the year. Then I'm assuming they're closing the class action. What does it cost me? Nothing?
As of right now, nothing. Other than time or staff time.
We got 6 wells, that one?
5.
We don't draw from the river?
Correct.
But your last test showed negative? That's
we have to test every single year.
right.
That's fine.
Was there a cost benefit to it by making them do the testing and we can hand it in? If we have them do the testing, can we use their results to hand in to Eagle?
Good.
That's-
Put it this way, if Eagle felt something's going on or something's wrong, guarantee you.
Oh, yeah.
So that's why I don't see it necessary, but you guys make that decision. But, whatever you want.
Is that a required check by the state or is that just something we do?
What's that?
PB, whatever there.
PFAS.
Yeah, it's mandatory to say.
All right. You guys are kind of coattailing.
Why you had your hand up?
When is the last time we tested the wells?
I didn't double check, but.
Just out of curiosity, but I mean, if this is really cost neutral, what? Who cares? Let them do it.
Hello?
Correct.
Emphasizing that again, it's a cost standard.
Someone making a motion or what do you want to wait, or you want to wait? Okay. What is your motion gonna be?
That we, I forget about the execution. Public services agreement related to that product liability litigation that Louisa LLC.
I'll second.
Motion by Pompano, second by Hubbard. Okay. Any discussion? Okay, please call the vote.
Popoff,
Yes.
Tell,
Yes.
Semi-Pharaoh,
Yes.
Aldag,
Yes.
Hubbard,
Yes.
Keo.
No. That's okay. That's okay.
Fine.
That's what we're doing.
No
Motion
problem.
carries. We're down to non-arranged participation. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak under non-arranged?
Hey, everybody. Is this on?
It is. Name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Nick Zager. I live in Ann Arbor, 2118 Vinewood Boulevard, 48104. I'm actually here as a consultant. I represent Dr. Brandon Shukri. Myself, I'm a commercial real estate broker by trade, but I specialize in helping dentists find and locate their offices. I probably do 3 dozen dental deals a year. And so that is anywhere from building and, you know, building it out and sometimes, hopefully, in this case, finding, you know, or acquiring land and building a brand new. What I can say is that since I first met Dr. Shukri, he has always talked to me about his vision for and shortly thereafter, or a couple of years, maybe a year and a half or 2 years, after he caught wind that he may be potentially selling this, land, it was on our radar. So he's a proud member of the Dexter community. His practice has been working out of Dexter for 27 years. He's only been a part of it for the last 7. But, you know, he plans to spend the rest of his career serving the families in the community of Dexter. He participates in community events like Light Up Dexter, has been a patron sponsor for the Dexter Summer Festival. Most importantly, he brings smiles to the community, both literally and figuratively. Practice sees 2,500 children each year to perfect their smile. And I suspect many people here have his practice is touching them or their family. He's a good man, a family man, leader in his field. He's a board member and president of multiple local, state, and national organizations. But he also has vision and follow through. And we believe he's consistent. He's been here in July, August, September. What it takes. May not have as deep of pockets as a developer, but he also doesn't have the same constraints. If given the chance, he'll make good and purchase this land quickly, probably as quick as 45 days from the time we're under contract. Medical office building already fits within the zoning. Before you know it, a beautiful new healthcare building will be serving this community. We don't have any concerns about the site. There aren't any environmental issues that we know of. As far as I could tell from the site plan that was provided, a 14,000 foot medical office building had already been approved. We're just prepared to follow that process through and make good. We're not big developer who has 5 or 10 lines in the water.
Hello there.
Brandon Shukri, owner of Dexter Orthodontics, 7200 Daniel Way Road. I want to thank you, Mayor, City Manager, City Council for taking the time to do your research, meeting with me after City Council meetings to get a better idea of what our vision is. We are committed to take on the submission as soon as possible. Had Nick mentioned 25 days are left. And we plan to, as our letter intent mentioned, build multiple medical buildings on there, bring jobs to the city and as well revenue to the city. And we look forward to it. I really appreciate every single one of your time.
Thank you both for coming and sticking till the end of the meeting. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on a non-arranged? Anybody online? Okay, we're down to council comments. I'll start with our two student reps. Eva?
Well, my only comment is to actually talk about the Ann Arbor Road and Meadow Drive property. So what I assume is important to the council is the same importance to me is what these proposals may benefit, like how they can benefit our own people. I am feeling this knowing that the first proposal has already had a huge benefit to this community. Especially to the schools and as we just heard to community events. And I just think it's something that we should definitely kind of mull over for the next 2 weeks. To look at not only the first proposal's benefits, but also the second. But I just wanted to kind of add in that student perspective of what this could do for our community, what this could do for our community's children. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Elena?
My comment is related to the sheriff's presence today. I actually did see a police car. I mean, I don't know if it qualifies as Main Street or next to Ann Arbor Road, but down that stretch for the first time in a long time, which is interesting. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Joe?
Both of you should feel that you can participate in the discussion when we discuss those particular topics. Please don't hesitate, just raise your hand. I'm sure the mayor will concur with that. So,
I even let you start talking if you start talking.
You're looking at me for a moment.
The other thing.
My feelings is hurt.
You were helping us all learn the etiquette.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for.
That's what I'm here for.
So I can't remember if it was next door on Facebook, there's a discussion about the gazebo. And lo and behold, there was a comment and a drawing that somebody said, well, if you just extend Baker straight up and it'll connect to Central. Can we please, 3 years now, 3 years, I've been asking, please get the Monument Park, the dedication of those parcels on the agenda so we can vote on that and just get done with it. I know there's some difficulties too, but please, let's move forward on it. Thank you.
Okay. Good comment.
My only comment is that I will be missing October 13th, council meeting. I will be in Lansing for, the Michigan Museum Association Conference.
Ray?
Since we talked about that annexation property, that Many Hands or Helping Hands thing. They got their preliminary, so they're having this big open house this Saturday. You can drive out there, I guess. I don't know how you drive out in that cornfield. I'm assuming they'll have some kind of, I went and looked at the site plan up at the sign a while back. So it's, I don't know. I thought I'd just drop out there and have a donut.
Are they serving donuts?
I hope so.
Only one way to find out.
Yeah, right.
They said they were gonna have food trucks.
Ooh.
No, I buy enough food, man.
No, it's in there. They have food trucks there for the cost.
Oh, well, maybe I show up with some buddies.
Ray, I got my 4-wheel drive truck with big tires on it. I'll drive you back there.
I just go on from Dexter. I know them guys.
What?
I was gonna say no, but since Joe brought it up, I also concur about having the item about the park put on a future agenda.
Okay, Pablo?
I'm looking forward to spending time in our expanded social district with you folks.
Hey. Nice, nice. Okay, thank you, everybody. I will seek a motion for adjournment at 10:14.
Now move it.
Moved by Ray,
Second.
second by Wow, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We make the adjournment decision together. Have a great couple weeks, everybody.
Where you going? See your daughter?